Tired of ads crashing your comedy podcast party? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free comedy to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah, Randy?
Since we founded Bombas, we've always said our socks, underwear, and T-shirts are super soft. Any new ideas?
Maybe sublimely soft.
Or disgustingly cozy.
Wait, what?
I got it. Bombas. Absurdly comfortable essentials for yourself
And for those facing homelessness.
because one purchased equals one donated.
Wow, did we just write an ad?
Yes.
Bombas. Big comfort for everyone. Go to bombas.com/ACAST and use code ACAST for 20% off your first purchase.
Hello, EggChasers. This is the EggChasers Rugby Podcast, the podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. Back in the rugby dungeon, as we have been for over 10 years, in our 11th season, bringing you an episode every single Monday, 52 weeks of the year. Whether there's stories about superstar players going and playing another sport or not, we're always there for you. And if you appreciate that fact, you can find us, well, wherever you get your podcasts, hit subscribe. And for more extra content, sometimes quite spicy content, patreon.com/EggChasers. That really, really helps. And thank you to our new patrons. You are very, very gratefully received. And thanks for helping keep the lights on. I'm Tim with JB.
Hello, Tim.
And with Phil.
Hello, Tim.
Have you noticed JB's look? He's gone kind of, he's got like, he looks like a Love Island contestant today.
Yeah, this is Jim Shark rest day gear.
Nice. I
So
like it.
I've never ever seen an episode of Love Island. I know you two did the Love Island podcast for a period.
Do you know that was so popular when
Wasn't
we did
it? It was so good. And none of the audio exists anymore.
No.
Because I got a laptop burgled and I posted it onto a website, and once you stop paying for the website, it gets rid of all the audio. It was so good.
Yeah,
Some of the finest broadcasting.
We did it as a bit of a joke, and it just weirdly
2,000, listen, if you're into podcasts, you'll know 2,000 listeners is no joke for a cold start with no launch.
Episode one,
Episode
no
one,
launch.
Boom. Love Island podcast done.
And it got mentioned by, I can't remember the name of the, Miranda Sawyer in The Guardian mentioned us on
Oh, she did, didn't she?
It was mental. Because it was like two blokes that are not Love Islandy at all talking about Love Island.
Yeah,
basically.
so what...
Well, you're not that Love Islandy, Tim.
So
Well,
what did
JB
it-
wasn't then.
Yeah, what did it for Love Island? As a concept, and also for the podcast that we created, was unsurprisingly, like what's doing it for rugby is mental health. So they decided that they'd screen all the people with poor mental health out of Love Island. Like the only people that really want it were now banned from going on. So you just left with these boring people. Ruined it as a concept and ruined it for the people that wanted it.
Anyway, fortunately, we've never stopped bringing you a rugby podcast, and we're back again, and so much to talk about. I'm going to pepper the podcast with emails. Contact eggchasers@gmail.com. I might have to shut that window at some point, JB. I know you're hot, but there's a storm raging outside.
With a creaking door as well because of the wind whipping in.
Yeah, it's a bit more atmospheric, isn't it?
Yeah.
The podcast.
Well, Lewis Rees-Zammit is the only place to start. It seems a long time ago now, because it was all happening Monday, Tuesday last week.
So I was going to go with Harry Mallender, because that seems like the bigger story.
Well, I didn't see that one coming.
No. Such a shame about Harry Mallender, because I genuinely think with all the talk of England lacking a 12, he was the boy. If he could just have kept it together for a little longer, he would have been the boy.
I was having a conversation with commentator Martin Gillingham the other night.
Oh, yeah.
And he was working on, as was I, as we both learnt, the 2016 Under-20s Rugby World Cup,
yes.
When it was in Manchester.
Where you scouted Geordie Barrett and Andrew Porter. And
obviously.
all those players.
Made their career, some say.
Yeah, some would say. And we were chatting, and we both had a vote on player of the tournament, and I voted for Harry Mallender. And I'd forgotten, and Martin was one of the few people that voted for the player that was also at that tournament, a certain Antoine Dupont.
Was he really at the tournament?
Yeah.
Hang on, how old is Dupont? Because I feel like he's 12.
Same age as Harry Mallender.
No, hang on. Harry
That
Mallender's...
was 8 years ago, so
26.
27?
26, 27, yeah.
Christ, Dupont's much older than I thought it was. I thought he was a bit younger than that. Yeah, Harry Mallender had a little jaunt up to the AJ Bell playing 12 for Northampton Saints. Saints were no great shakes at that point, and he was so classy. But he was classy throughout. He's one of those players. Do you know when Six Nations comes about and there's a handful of players that are just always nailed on guaranteed picks? Because, you know, like Faletau, like a guy of just incredible class. I thought he was going that way, like someone who will just be undroppable. And some headaches later, didn't, you know, then got dropped, then ended up in Japan, and it all spiralled down. But hopefully he'll make it in the NFL.
NFL punter / kicker. As for Lewis Rees-Zammit, which was the big story, what was your reaction when you first saw the news, Phil? What did you think?
Surprise, and does he have a chance? Like, I don't know, but USA has got a population 100 times bigger than Wales. And so the likelihood of a Welshman being highly tuned enough, have the athletic prowess. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it just seems like a risky bet or low likelihood of making it. Not that I really know much about NFL. I just know the talent pool of athletes there, and like the number of sub say 10.1 second runners who there are just in like college sports and college athletics and the NFL. It seems highly unlikely that he'd be good enough to make it. Well, but Hill will have a very fun couple of years, no doubt, and could come back to Wales. Just
to make your point, but in the opposite direction. If it was that easy to change sports, rather than rugby players going to play NFL, why have we seen precisely 0 NFL or basketball players make it in rugby?
Not true.
Go on.
There was the one that played for Harlequins.
Paul Lasika.
So
yeah, it's not 0. But it's not.
And I don't know which way.
He played for the Bears, didn't he?
Hayden Smith, Saracens, New York Jets. He went. I can't remember which order it was.
So Hayden Smith,
he was Australian, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was Australian. Played Aussie rules. Yeah. He went to university in America.
That's right.
His first game of rugby was against Munster. That's not a joke either.
Wow.
His first game of rugby was like American students against Munster.
Wow.
Yeah. And then after a few games of rugby, that's when he went to the NFL to be a tight end for the New York Jets, and he caught one pass off Mark Sanchez in a preseason game.
Yeah, which should not be underestimated. What an incredible achievement that is.
That is truly remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's actually truly remarkable. The other one was Alex Gray.
Yeah,
he trialled
Atlanta Falcons.
There's been a few who've trialled.
Christian Scotland Williamson at the Pittsburgh Steelers got on the practice squad. Christian Scotland Williamson thinks that had he not got injured, he would have made a in-season roster at one point.
Really?
Yeah. So I would just say. But there's a lot of people that have been quite cynical about Lewis Rees-Zammit and this move, and saying a lot of the things you've said, Phil, which is, what's the point? Well, no, you didn't say what's the point. You didn't say what's the point.
Fair play for trying.
Yeah.
Really fair play for trying. And he is young enough to try, not succeed, although still have a very, very good time, like very, very, learn loads, have an amazing time.
And a good chunk of cash as well.
Yeah, I think fair play to him.
So, I'll just tell you about my reaction. First of all, it was disappointed. Disappointed as a rugby fan, I think, rather than anything else, but very excited for him personally. But I wonder how he's going to deal with it on a personal level, because at the moment he is a deity when it comes to rugby, but no one's going to care about him in the NFL. Now, whether that fires him up and really spurs him on, I don't know. Or maybe he'll hate it. So people just not respect him. I'll give an example of someone who hated that. Luther Burrell. Luther Burrell was obviously a big deal in Union. Everyone respected him because of his England caps. Nobody respected him in Warrington Wolves, and it was really difficult for him because they just don't care. You've got to prove yourself in the sport that you've come to.
Christian Wade said that it was really tough living in a Holiday Inn hotel for 10 weeks, going through this process.
Oh, I bet.
Sitting there with a playbook that you have to learn, and it's like in another language, and you're on a completely different time zone from all your friends and family back home, so you can't just pick up the phone and have a chat with them.
Do you know one of the things which is really weird about American football? And we don't necessarily get it in rugby. We might get it, but I can't think of it. Is that if you play your American football in a certain place, all your plays and everything you know, I mean, it's probably a bit different now, but historically, if you played on the West Coast, your plays and the things you do would be named completely differently to if you played somewhere else. So the example I'd give is, say, rugby versus American football. like stiff arm, handoff. Well, that's obvious. Sidestep, juke. But if you have hundreds of terms and they're all slightly different, it becomes. I tell you where I struggle is when people tell me how to run a move, and they come from a rugby league background, and although I know what the move is, when they say it's a face ball or the same move, but it's called something completely different.
Like if you said to someone at rugby league, "Yeah, we'll just do a piss off."
Yeah, what?
What?
Yeah. So they have lead and late, and I mean, that makes sense if you. Yeah, but I mean, that's one game which is incredibly similar to the game that I play. We've probably stolen half their moves anyway, and I still don't really get it.
Yeah.
Whereas going to NFL must be very difficult.
Yeah, but do you know what? Well, here's one thing. So there's a lot of cynicism, and there's a lot of people that. I mean, I can understand the cynicism in terms of it's very, very unlikely that he will make an in-season roster. If he puts on the uniform and even steps out in a pre-season friendly match, like, what an achievement that is. And it's an incredible thing if he manages to do that. So I understand the cynicism towards him making a career in it. I don't understand the next step that a lot of people seem to make of like, oh, he's just chasing cash, or we're stupid, or he's
an athlete, he should be.
So many people said he's Henson 2.0, and it's just all about him and it's his ego.
It should be.
Well, for one,
good.
Yeah, for one thing, I say if he does make it, the multiples of money that he can earn.
I mean, who should it be about? Like, Welsh traditions of singing stupid songs. Like, who should it be about? Should it be about some neckbeard that likes to go to the stadium? I don't understand who it should be about.
Well, I think I can understand the fact that it was unfortunate the timing meant that it was very close to, and Warren Gatland had to change his squad that he was about to announce and all of that sort of stuff. I understand that was unfortunate. But it's just strange that in any other walk of life, if I came in and sat with you on this pod and went, I'm having a total career change, lads, and I'm giving up broadcasting and stuff, and I'm going to do this. Your reaction would be like...
Chasing cash, mate.
Oh, fair play, mate. Cool. Awesome. Good for you.
Ours would be ego, cash.
Yeah.
Again, typical.
It's just weird. It's weird.
The podcast to do YouTube and whatever, mate.
That reaction from grown adult men I just found odd.
It is. So I heard a description, a comparison of sport versus business recently. And the analogy was, if you're playing baseball, you can swing for the fences, but the most points you can score is 4. The most runs you can get with a home run, bases loaded, is 4 runs. And that's kind of rugby. So the best, he can only ever get to a certain level. But in the NFL, if he swings for the fences and makes it, it would be like scoring a 1,000-point home run. That is the scale and the size of the market, the increase of the market.
The only thing I would say, and it's a small thing, is it a small thing? I don't know. I'm trying to construct this thought on the fly. But if he does make it as just a jobbing NFL player on a roster on the minimum amount, which is still massive, right?
$750,000.
Yeah, it's still massive
for an 18-week season.
And he does 3 or 4 years, right?
It goes up every year.
Yeah, so every year the minimum goes up with the experience. But just say if he did that, he would have a certain amount of money. And I think the next thing which would be important is what comes afterwards. Because as a Welsh rugby player and a Lion, and one of the best in the world right now, he won't earn as much now. But his career prospects when he leaves, his opportunities in Wales, maybe in the media, it's a lot. But if he's some nobody in America but has trousered 2-3 million quid, that's great, but it doesn't last long. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of torn on that, but presumably he can come back.
He can come back,
He's 22.
Yeah.
He's 22 and he's already been on a Lions tour, been to a World Cup, got 30 caps, scored a hat load of tries.
And some amazing tries.
Yeah.
And the Lion, did you mention Lion?
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Just other names who've had a crack either NFL or NFL rugby to NFL or NFL to rugby. Obviously the two Sevens player, Carlin Isles and Perry Baker. Yeah. But perhaps the best one going that way, Nate Ebner.
Oh, yes.
That's a good call.
Multiple Super Bowl winner, wasn't he?
With the Patriots.
Slot receiver.
And then...
Jordan May at the Male Artes Rugby League to the NFL.
Did Jonathan Thurston? No, it wasn't Jonathan Thurston. There's another one. Well, who was the other one? And then he came back.
It's Jared Hayne.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably the less said about him, the better for the last
Well, I mean,
years.
as an athlete,
So, yeah,
incredible.
Read about his court cases.
Oh no!
Yeah. Let's not talk about his
we don't
personal life, but as an athlete, amazing.
Hell of an
And
athlete.
he played in 8 matches for the San Francisco 49ers, which is that sounds like no big deal. That is
huge.
That is
Huge.
incredible.
Yeah,
Oh, Christ.
And
What-
he was quite late. He was, I want to say, late 20s when he made the step across. So he was a hell of a player.
Yeah, Valentine Holmes as well.
Don't know him. Who's that?
I think he was another NRL player. But yeah, good luck to him.
Yeah, fair play.
Hey,
And I hope there's going to be a documentary following it because he could make more money from that than he will from.
Well, I mean, the
He could
best
make
case
his whole
scenario
rugby career.
is that he does become big in American football and talks about rugby a lot.
yeah.
That would be great.
I mean, there's.
And dates Taylor Swift. And talks about rugby a lot. That'd be awesome.
I mean,
he's going to. I know he's got a
yeah.
girlfriend and stuff, but he can clean up.
Yeah.
He might have a girlfriend now, but
Everything's temporary, isn't it?
he'll have a
Including
good
rugby.
time. Yeah.
If he can dump rugby, he can dump his girlfriend.
He's got. Who did I see who's going out? Because there's been in the news. He's going out with some. So I didn't know the name of it, but she's some Instagram influencer who's been on
Colour me shocked.
been on a couple of
Reality TV? Okay.
reality TV programs as well. So that might not last that
No.
long when he gets to America.
Right, so that's Reece Samet done.
Yes,
What
and Harry Mallender, of course.
Yeah, more importantly. What other superfluous stuff do we have to cover before we talk about rugby?
We can briefly just mention Joe Schmidt has become Australia head coach. That seems like a good appointment. I think.
Fine.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see what we can do with this lot.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. It's maybe the hardest job in rugby.
Yeah, highest expectation.
Yes.
Loads
Yeah.
amount of talents.
We need.
Next to all the other big teams.
Well, on that, I mean, how Wales always managed to put out a team that does the basics really well, work really hard, solid defence, and all of that. And that does take you a certain distance in rugby. But when you look at that Wales international squad, when we look at the Six Nations squads that they've all been announced now, that Wales squad does look threadbare, doesn't it?
Threadbare, or does it look like a squad which is primed to prove itself? I mean, it looks like an evolution, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
I don't know any of those players. I mean, legitimately, I don't. And that's not.
There's a few I recognise.
Prop looks really, really light. But then you never
Thomas
know.
Francis.
Yes.
You know, there's loads of these lads that Gatland has given a shot 2, and they've come good. So let's just see. I always say, and I'm not always right, but I always say it, that opportunity is just as important as talent. And these lads have got one hell of an opportunity. So who knows?
It would have softened the blow about Lewis Rees-Samet for Wales fans had Emmanuel Faye-Waboso, a man who was born in Cardiff, grew up in Cardiff, but had to move away because he couldn't study in Cardiff and is now in the England squad. Fair play to him. But you'd be really disappointed if you were Wales. Here's a devil's advocate point, however. Mm-hmm. Emmanuel Faye-Waboso, clearly a raw and special physical talent. 15 senior games for Exeter. I'm just going to put it out there. He has not earned that England spot.
I tell you what.
Completely agree.
When I saw Will Muir clatter into some poor Toulouse man today,
Oh, God,
that's a
on
man that should
Malia.
be. That is who should be in the England squad. That boy there.
Yes.
If he qualified for Scotland or Wales, do you think he would be in the England
Will
squad?
Muir must qualify for Scotland. He simply must do.
He must do.
Oh, I wonder if he does. No, he would have been picked up by Scotland on this.
You'd think so.
Somewhat.
Especially with Darcy Graham going down injured. You would have thought he would have got in.
He's amazing. He's amazing.
He must have Scotland. He must be
You'd
qualified
think
for
with
Scotland.
that name.
Yeah.
But Scotland are normally on these things pretty sharp. They know everyone who's had a great grandparent that visited Scotland once.
Brendan Laney.
Born in Cleveland, so that's right up in the northeast.
Farmer. He's a farmer.
He must have of his 4 grandparents, there must be one.
Doesn't say. Don't know anything about
He's
him.
obviously Scottish. He
Yeah.
has to be Scottish.
And I think I've said this on the pod before, my rule would be, even if he's not, if your name is reminiscent of a country, if you're called Daffy Jenkins, even if none of your grandparents are Welsh, you can play for Wales.
Absolutely.
Do you think you could be born in Tokyo?
Legitimately, Byron McGuigan was playing sevens in Namibia. And it was, I'm pretty sure it was Gregor Townsend himself who was watching the sevens and just looked at the name and went, "Who are you?" And that was the start of that. That's when I went to Glasgow. Or was it Edinburgh?
I've just found Will Muir on LinkedIn, but it's Will Muir who is a director of a farm shop in Stirling.
Oh, right. Hang on. How old?
Can he play?
Because I'm pretty sure... okay.
Yeah, so there you go. So I don't want to knock Emmanuel Faye-Waboso. And actually, having lost Cam Redpath, I wish we'd just capped Cam Redpath because he was qualified for Scotland. I wish we'd capped Nick Tompkins just purely because he also qualified for Wales.
I have been saying this for years.
You
no one
have,
listens to me.
you have.
The conspiracy. And everyone laughed at me.
I don't
They all
like
laughed at me.
it. So I don't like it on the face of it because I think there are wingers that have earned it.
Well, so I think I'm still sceptical about the conspiracy. I think it is it's the trap of potential. So 2 names in the squad, and we're talking about this in the kitchen upstairs, who are not there yet but have enormous potential. Chandler Cunningham South and Emmanuel Faye-Waboso, they have off the charts potential. They're physical specimens. They have immense talent, but they are not there. They might not even be in the top 3 in their position in their own clubs.
Yeah,
they have higher potential than anyone in their clubs in their position. But let's just take Harlequin's back row. I would have Will Evans right now. I'd have Kenningham. I'd have Dom Brandt. And I would probably even have Chisholm.
Chisholm's great.
Starting ahead of Cunningham South if it was, say, a Heineken Cup final tomorrow, or, say, a knockout world...
Or you were the England head coach and those were your only choices. Yeah.
If those were your 4 choices, I would have the other 3. But it's part of this squad is on right now, and part of it is on what that future potential could be. And they could be, in 3 years' time, they could be 2 of the best players in the world, given the right opportunity.
Yeah. Oh well. The that qualification game just continue to play on and on and on and on. There's no end to it yet because Scotland, Ireland, Wales, they're going to continue to scout everyone in England because it's just such a rich league. Well, rich playing pool, not rich league. Rich playing pool. And you will continue to get... It has calmed down a little bit from France, from the good old Scott Spedding days.
Well, I don't know, actually. Emmanuel Mayafou, who is now a citizen, has a French passport, fair enough. But there are a bunch of others.
Yeah, it's not as bad as it was in France.
Moses Allo-Emile.
Who's he?
He plays for Stade Francais, an absolutely enormous 150 kg prop.
Oh my word! Where's he from?
His brother plays for Samoa, but he will be French qualified very soon. There's a couple of South Africans they've got about 5 players all in that position that are either props that were locks or locks that can play prop. Like
perfect.
Basically 150 kilogram Owini Antonio clones.
Perfect.
They've got about 5 of them. 2 South Africans, a Samoan, and another couple. They've just got this crazy...
The problem with this as well is, this is a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
Like for all of those who become captured by the French... Because there are only so many Owini Antonio or Will Skelton-sized men on the planet.
Yeah.
So it is a zero... For everyone who's not playing for Samoa or South Africa or Australia... and is qualified for France. Yeah. That is better for France.
JJ Van der Mescht is one of them. Now, it doesn't sound like he was born and raised in France. So, yeah, it's an interesting one to watch. The games are still going to be played. But Tom Roebuck's the other one who qualifies for Scotland in the England squad.
Now, I do like Tom Roebuck. He's a very strong winger. He's built a bit like an 8. Well, he certainly was coming through the age groups. As much as I like him, I mean... I don't see him being England's next choice.
Well, I'll tell you what it does say to me. What I read into Tom Roebuck's selection is that Steve Borthwick is not moving too drastically from his plan, because Tom Roebuck's, what he is very good at is just working his nuts off, chasing kicks. He's basically, I want someone that does the job that Johnny May did for me.
Yeah.
Or did for England. Yeah, there you go.
Just elevate, get in the air. But I don't even see that much from him. I mean, he does, but he's not special at it. So who would be special? Sorry, to bang on again. Will Muir is special at that job. He doesn't have that. Ollie Woodburn, that's a guy who's really special at that role. I tell you who is exceptional at that role, and you wouldn't think of it because of the way the club plays, but all the Harlequins wingers. I mean, Liner in particular makes his own luck on a regular basis by chasing things. Every lost cause he doesn't give up on. Same with Murley, he does that. Who's the other one?
I can't help but feel Murley would have been in if he was
Welsh qualified or Scottish qualified or fit.
Murley
would have been in.
I think.
There's another one from Harlequins that I really like. Not Nick David. I mean, I do like Nick David.
Louis Liner.
Tyrone Green.
No,
Will
not
Joseph can play there.
Oscar Beard's in as
Oscar
well.
Beard's in that. That's good.
Beardo. Northmore's another one who can play. He's been injured most of the season, I think.
Oscar Beard, Henry Slade, and being selected. That says to me, and Fraser Dingwall being the only natural 12 says to me Ollie Lawrence is 12. He played 12 for Bath. We can get onto that in a minute. But
Well, I can tell you a bit about Ollie Lawrence playing 12 if you want, or do you want to talk about it during the?
Well, no,
go
let's
on.
talk about it
what,
now.
you
because-
mean in the Six Nations?
Well, he didn't play 12 today, so he had 12 on his back. He defended at 12. So what they did is they put him at 12 to defend because they assume or they think that Max Ojomo is quicker on the outside break. And then when they were playing an open play, apparently, I need to watch the game again, but apparently Ojomo was then going to switch back to 12 because of his distribution.
Yeah.
But there again, Ollie Lawrence definitely scored a try playing in that 12 position
Yes.
when he ran over. So, I don't know. But I like the fluidity between the two.
It's the first time this
Yeah.
season Ollie Lawrence has worn 12. Exactly what his role, if you analysed it, would be. But the first time he's worn 12. And I just wonder whether that... Do you think that may have been a phone call between Van Graan and Borthwick?
I think it's coincidence, but maybe. Because...
Did you read the Charlie Morgan article this week? I mean, there's been probably many Charlie Morgan, but one that
I shamefully didn't, because Charlie Morgan is one of the rugby writers that is essential.
always
Essential reading.
it perhaps suggested he's listened to the pod in the past few weeks, particularly when we were talking about the need for a 12, and you could come up with a metric. You could say how many players in England. How many English players have won 12 this season?
I think we mentioned this last... Oh, sorry,
It's-
Charlie Morgan mentioned
Charlie
this.
Mo-
Because Steve Borthwick mentioned this. Steve Borthwick listens to the pod.
Steve Borthwick mentioned it, but Charlie Morgan
Yeah, he listens to the pod.
So his article was, how many Premiership starts at 12 are there in that England 36 this season? Just this season.
I would say, well, there's 0 for Lawrence or Slade or Beard.
Is Manu in it?
There might
Manu's not in it.
might be a couple for Faz, but probably unlikely.
Faz isn't in it.
Faz isn't in it.
Yeah,
Of course he isn't. So I would say Dingwall would probably be, I'm going to say, 9.
So there are a total of 3.
Wow.
And all of the...
What?
3 starts, all by one man, which is Fraser Dingwall, because he's been injured and he started at 13 as well with Hutchinson.
Oh, of course.
So there are a total... I think it was 36 starts at 13 in the Premiership this season in that squad,
Wow.
including Beard, Slade, Lawrence and Freeman and Dingwall, but
Well, it's 4 now anyway.
only 3. Well, just in the Premiership.
Oh, right, yeah.
And did he not play 13 as well this week? Because Hutchinson.
No, Ollie Lawrence.
Oh,
played
sorry,
this weekend, yeah.
yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Quite right. But yeah, not in the Premiership. So yeah, hi Charlie, I'm sure you're listening again.
Yep.
Any other...
And good article, by the way.
Any other news or off-field stuff?
Well, just on the England squad, if we're going to...
Yeah,
we're
go
on that. I think... So I'm excited by the kind of centres and back 3, because I think there is a lot of talent there. Huge amount of talent. I think there's some interesting decisions in the back row.
Yeah.
And Ben Earl, so I'm looking at the players. So Ben Earl, from his performances in the World Cup, and he's probably getting back to fitness after his injuries, he's just nailed on, starting on the team sheet.
Yeah.
First name on the team sheet in that back row. Everyone else, I am not sure how they're going to go for this, because no one else stands out. So the other names are Chandler Cunningham-South, Ethan Roots, Tom Pearson, Ben Curry, Sam Underhill, Alex Dombrandt, and then you could possibly add to that one of the second rows in Itoje,
yeah.
Coles, Chesham, or Ezekwe.
Right, so
Martin or Chesham will be there.
a fit...
Well, Martin's not in the squad
Oh,
because
yeah, of
he's
course
injured.
he's injured.
Martin's
You're right.
injured?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
A couple of games ago.
Yeah.
Did he not play this weekend?
No.
No, it's
No,
Wells
I mean,
and
there's
Chesham.
five
Wells.
players.
And
Five
Chesham
players.
went
Steve.
off.
Yeah, 5 players not in the squad that Steve Borthwick mentioned as they were in rehab, and that was Manu, George Martin, Anthony Watson, Jack Van Portvliet and Rafi Quirk.
Yeah, Rafi Quirk's really racking up the injuries.
Yeah.
Really racking them up.
He's risking being a Manu.
Yeah.
In the
So
early one.
if you sit and have coffee in the Barbican long enough, you'll see him. He'll walk past.
No.
He's always up and about.
Well, he's not playing much rugby, is he? So, it makes sense. The back row, if Sam Underhill is fit and firing, he stands out to me. And Ben Earl, but that's not big enough, so who's going to be...
Ben Earl and Underhill, you've then got quite a small back row.
That's why I think Ethan
Quite a
Roots is
short
in the
back
squad.
row.
Yeah.
Well, he's Welsh qualified as well, which is...
That'll be it.
And
New Zealand.
New Zealand
qualified, although he can't play for New Zealand while he's playing in England.
No.
Of course.
But, so I think it might be why Ethan Roots is in, just as a big body.
He is big, though, and he does carry well.
He's large.
Deep. Yeah,
So that's good. I mean, that's encouraging. But you're right, no one really stands out.
I think if George Martin was fit, my thought is that Chandler Cunningham South wouldn't be about.
Yes. Or Alex Coles wouldn't be about.
No, I think Alex Coles would be. He takes Dave Ribbon's spot.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, watching Graham on...
Sam Graham
on Friday night, he is some player. He is some player. He should have a shot.
Yeah, and did you see Zach Mercer, his comments?
Was this real? Did this actually happen?
Yeah.
But I thought the headline, so I read the headline and then read the story.
Headline writers twisting what the journalist has done in good faith. I don't believe it.
The headline did make it sound worse than it was, because he was just... Yeah, I'm just going to put that out of my mind and just focus on Gloucester, do my day job, basically, get the basics
What
right.
he said, which you don't know the tone of voice when it's written down, but he said he doesn't rate what I do, and he obviously doesn't value what I do, and I'm gutted. So I'm just going to ignore. I'm just going to forget about that. I'm just going to forget about England.
That's not necessarily a knock, is it?
And focus on Gloucester was the other because that is what he's getting paid to do.
And I spoke to George Skimmington on Friday, and he just said, like that's what you want, isn't it? You want a guy to be disappointed, angry, upset.
Exactly right.
That he's not in the England team,
and convert it into.
Yeah.
Do you know when we were talking the other day about Farrell in the press? Like, this is the sort of headline which just is a bit stupid, really. There's nothing wrong with saying Steve Borthwick doesn't value me. I mean, I think that's just... It doesn't mean it in a derogatory way. He just doesn't value what I do. And that's fine. It means I've got to go away and work on other things. It's absolutely fine.
Or we've got to wait until there's another coach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which might be the reality.
But I think it's more, because Borthwick is the kind of man who... He has a certain style of play. He can vary. He doesn't always play one style, but he likes certain things in his players, therefore... Work on those things.
But do you know what the beautiful thing is about having Borthwick as a national coach? Right? He's not going to change. So it does just take a phone call. What do you want me to do? And if you could replicate exactly what he wants, you will get in.
Yeah.
There's no ifs or buts. It's not like Eddie Jones is going to play mind games with you. Like, what do you want, Steve? Okay, I'll become amazing at that. If you became amazing at that, you would not have a problem.
There is a little bit, and you've talked about this before, JB, where England have so many resources that actually a coach can come in and be system first, players second. But there is an element I would like to see. What would you do if you were just going to go, that's a player that I absolutely want to accommodate, and that's a player I really want to accommodate, and that one, and I can fill in other pieces around them, but what sort of a team... Well, how would I play if Zach Mercer was one of those players? Well,
and then I guess that is another point, that Zach Mercer, certainly on this season's performances, he isn't one of those players.
I disagree, you know. When I watch him at Gloucester, he looks like one of the few people that can carry a ball.
But he started well for the first couple of games when the people missing, as in... other players missing for the other teams, and Gloucester got their 2 wins. He's been injured a lot since then, and Gloucester haven't done anything. They've not won any games.
That Quins v Gloucester game, Don Brandt did do a number on him.
Yeah, I rate Mercer as a player, but based on his performances this season, you would not say, he's a player that you have to be in that England squad.
He might also be wrong. Right? He might also be wrong that Steve Borthwick does value what he does, but he just does the same things as Ben Earl. And he's not as good as Ben Earl.
And Don Brandt, he's not, because Don Brandt's in the squad.
So, I mean, if you think about, what did we say? The two guys that stand out as nailed on international, should they be fit, would be Underhill, and they would be
Ben
Earl. You can simply not put Mercer in that back row. Just not even remotely a possibility. You need someone bigger, and it's not him. You're probably going to have to put a second row at 6. So to have him in the squad, no matter how good he is, he's going to have to be taking someone's space who does something similar but is demonstrably better than him.
Or just in better form than him.
And I mean, he could overtake Ben Mercer. Ben Mercer?
Zach Mercer.
No.
He is Zach Mercer.
Ben Earl.
He could overtake Ben Earl, or he could overtake Dombran into what is, I think, the second
He
place.
has to be better than one of those two boys. And he's not... in that regard, I do agree with you, Phil. He's not there.
He's not there this season.
That's fair.
So.
That's fair. One other thing which I thought was a good selection and I'm happy with, but Carl Sinclair feels like a big moment, him not being selected in an England squad.
Yeah, glad. Good.
Ever present in for, 6 years now?
And that's so I've highlighted in my little England spreadsheet, I've highlighted the number 3 position as an area of concern for me.
Absolutely. Well, if you saw the way that Joe Hayes got pumped by Andrew Porter.
Well, he did all right for the first few scrums.
Yeah. He did all right for the first few scrums. But
then Porter got angry.
England in the World Cup semi-final this year did all right for the first few scrums and lost it because of their scrimmaging.
Well, Stuart has not done much better.
No, he hasn't. And he's lucky to have his spot.
There is one guy who we could phone and he would solve this.
Go on.
I'll give you a clue. Plays for Harlequins.
Will Collier.
Will Collier. I would just call Will Collier. Like, do you want someone to scrimmage or not? What is it you want?
Do you want just a large body who is hard to move?
Yeah,
If you want that, you've got Aaron Painter and you've got Trevor Davidson.
Trevor Davidson. Now, that is one man, arguably, who's been Northampton's most important signing for a long... Well, him and Finn Smith. Nevertheless, really important signing. Surely give him a go. I mean, look what he's done for Northampton.
And a Northampton team that had Aaron Painter, the 100 and whatever he is, 135, 140 kg.
Have a look at him. Just have a look at him.
I'm much more optimistic on the Lucid side. I'm going to just say it. I think if Joe Marler was South African, he'd be in their match day 23.
Agreed. Joe Marler's
I think he's at the minute better than Stephen Kitsoff.
He's a hell of a player.
Beno Ogbonna was mighty impressive today.
Did you see the hit that Marler put in on Kieran Treadwell?
That was... I like the fact he just had checked, are you all right, mate?
Yeah. Well, Treadwell used to play
him. Of course he did. Oh, yeah, I forgot that.
But yeah, he absolutely nailed him. And Treadwell went off with either shoulder or ribs or both.
Well, and there's no Vinopolas.
Yeah.
No.
See the one?
No, but Lou said Beno Ogbonna looked really good against Toulouse.
He really did.
Yeah.
And Joe Marler looked ace against Ulster.
Yeah.
It's like England are good on the loose head, just really bad on the tight head.
For quite a while.
Yeah.
Like I remember, go back to Corby Sierra, Vunipola in his prime and Marler. And then you had guys like, God, this is going back a number of years, but someone like Matt Mullen, who was a great player
Matt Mullen was superb.
Years, was 4th choice at Lucid.
Matt Mullen would have been number 1 if he didn't kept fit.
Hell of a player.
100%.
But they've always had Luceds.
And then England
no
had,
problem.
If you wanted just a pure scrummaging Lucid, England have had Ben Moon over the years.
Yeah, Ben Moon's great.
And Hepburn.
Scotland's Alec Hepburn.
With half a dozen England caps is now Scotland's.
Yeah. He'll do all right there. He'll do fine. Yeah, I think with tight head, they're just going to have to pick someone and go with it.
Pick someone massive.
Will Collier. Just go with that.
Who is just
or Painter.
Yeah, maybe actually you just do it on right. Who's the heaviest tight heads we got?
Just scrummage.
Pick the
for
3
now.
heaviest. Get the Weybridge out. Sorry, you're out.
Yeah. Because look at the starting tight head prop for the last 2 World Cup winners. It's the same man. He doesn't do much around the park. He can jackal competently. He's rarely found out of place because he's intelligent, but he's not particularly mobile. He worked very hard. Franz Malherbe doesn't do... He's never thrown an out-the-door pass like Kyle Sinclair.
No.
You don't need that to be a double World Cup winner.
Do you remember when Kyle Sinclair made... Was it the
20
Lions?
million rand.
I was like... He was late into the... He was a backup selection, Kyle Sinclair, for the Lions, right? Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do.
And very emotionally, he said, I want to thank Save Your World for getting me in the Lions tour. Or Save Your World on the hook for him not being selected for England? Because I feel they should be.
It depends how much snake oil they're still paying him.
Do you reckon Save Your World are still involved?
I've no idea.
In Kyle Sinclair's demise?
He's off to
Toulon?
the absolute basket case that is Toulon.
They are a basket case.
They really are.
which means probably Kieran Brooks will come back to the Premiership or be moved somewhere in France, which is interesting. I mean, I'm not sure he's the answer to England's
I imagine he'll find a Pro D2 club.
Yeah,
he's been living in France for years now.
Yeah, he's been a long time. Is there anyone else that we've missed at tight head?
Do you know what? My thought on tight head? No, not really.
James Harper, he's massive.
Just get someone massive. The one thing I think Steve Borthwick needs to do is just hand Courtney Laws a blank cheque. So fill it in, whatever you want.
Well, looking at that back row, you might be right, because Courtney Laws was monumental on Friday. I mean, he really was.
He's been monumental for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
Well, certainly this season he's been great.
This season he's been super.
And during the World Cup, if you include the World Cup. The World Cup and this season.
The build-up to the World Cup, not so much.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Courtney Laws fan. I kind of thought he was lucky to be included, actually.
It is interesting how, because they did talk about the Allard Walters conditioning before the games, and we spoke about it on the pod, but when you put the 2 and 2 together and you look back on some of those before, like the Wales performance or the Ireland or the Fiji, where they lost to Fiji at home, they just looked absolutely done. They looked like they were not ready for a World Cup at all, but maybe it was just the conditioning. Because Big Courts was huge.
Courts does Big Courts. He will just put his body on the line just for the cause. But you do wonder whether that extra couple of percent, certainly in club colours, because we saw the same with Mario Itoje, suddenly started playing incredibly well when he was in the last year of his contract.
Mm-hmm.
This is very, very true. And is he not in the last year of his contract now, Mario?
Well, no, he's signed a new hybrid deal, hasn't he, with the RFU?
Has it been?
Yeah, but I don't know if
it hasn't actually been confirmed.
It's talked about that.
Yeah.
But Jamie George has re-signed
Jamie George
for Saracens.
has re-signed for Saracens. You think that's got some hybrid money in it. Anthony Watson has signed with hybrid money.
I mean, Anthony Watson is not someone you should be putting.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
It's like I think there's an argument, or Rafi Quirk hybrid deal, or Sam Underhill a hybrid deal.
I hope they're just 1 year deals.
Well, this is what I was going to say. Maybe they're rolling deals, so it's not going to help much for Mario's contract year, because if he decides to go to France,
he'll be on a 3-4 year deal.
Yeah, and also it makes no sense in terms of Saracens. What if they want to do something which doesn't involve Mario? I mean, that's unlikely, but there's loads of players out there that might want hybrid deals, and if you want to move away from that type of fly half or scrum half or the size of back row, and you're lumbered with this guy because he's got a hybrid deal for 3 years, that's not going to be no.
Why doesn't, with the financial situation? Oh, it's a catch-22. We've been over it loads of times. I was just about to say, why don't, with the financial situation in England, rather than the RFU subsidising the clubs, why don't you just drop the eligibility rules? Or at the least for people that have played 5, 6, 7 years in the Premier League.
You're saying that they've got some financial issues.
Yeah.
Where should they go with financial issues?
Beardmore
cubed.
Beardmore and Co. Independent Financial Advisors, of course, for all your financial needs.
Last thing on the Six Nations squad for England. We obviously mentioned one conspiracy theory on the international eligibility. The other one, JB.
What's that?
Owen Farrell leaves the squad.
Oh.
Who is immediately called up.
I mean, it's pretty weird, isn't it? It's pretty weird.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. Player plays really well for his club, gets selected for international team.
I mean, he's clearly one of the best scrum halves and has been for the last 5 years in England. But Ben Youngs.
Yeah.
Has anyone really, across the course of, 5 games, you watched 5 Ben Youngs games?
You'll get no argument from me about Ben Youngs. I think like an incredible player for England, but was
an incredible player once every 3 games.
Yes, yeah.
Over the course of his career, an amazing.
I mean, he's shown up.
You don't get 100 odd caps for England. Just got to think of that money. If you average it at 20 grand a game, 123 caps, was it? What's that? Quick maths. 240.
I mean, it just shows, doesn't it, the depth of hatred.
£2.5 million quid.
Yeah.
Oh, just in England match fees. Let alone all he did all those Dove men care stuff.
Well, do you know when people are talking about the NFL like being the panacea? Well, that's like what 2-3 years NFL money, and the average career is 2 years there. So it's not always that wise to disappear over the Atlantic.
So what you're saying is that Lewis Rees-Summit
to play for England
3 years ago should have chosen England.
Absolutely.
Like Faye Waboso has done.
Yeah.
Contact EggChasers@gmail.com. An email here from Mike says, 3-hour pod, please. I've got a long commute tomorrow. Well,
Roger that, mate.
we're on track.
We'll be talking about this week's game soon.
Yeah, we haven't even spoken about the rugby. Just one thing I do want to put on your radar, because we're going to start talking about European rugby and stuff shortly, is that we will be doing a podcast next week
in Paris.
I guess this is getting our apologies in early. I don't know what state we'll be in. I don't know where we'll be doing it. But there will always be a podcast. There always is. But we're going to be in Paris.
What is the Sunday game? That is the question.
The game we're watching, the game we're going to watch on Sunday in France is first and foremost is Racing 92 against Toulouse, which is a precursor of the Champions Cup round of 16.
Okay,
yeah, that's 16.
So the only we're missing Gloucester versus Sale on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So no reason we can't, when we're relatively sober on Sunday morning, do the podcast for everything else, and then round up Gloucester and Sale with our experience in Paris on the Monday for an extra podcast.
Oh, I like
Perfect.
that. What, like an extra Patreon pod?
Ooh, maybe
with all
Patreon
the
pod,
secrets. Oh, that's a good shout. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so we'll have a podcast there early then. So
Yeah.
if you want to say... So just to let you know, because I know a lot of people enjoy listening to the podcast on a Monday morning, you're going to have to be very disciplined next weekend, or this coming weekend, depending on when you're listening to this. You're going to have to be very disciplined not to listen to it on a Sunday and ruin your Monday morning commute.
Yeah.
Because it will be there on Sunday.
I've just had an invite to Didsbury Talk H's 100th celebration, i.e. the centenary gala dinner. That's very nice.
Oh, fantastic.
Go to that in May.
We getting an invite?
Yes.
Yes. Do you need an MC?
Good deal, actually. Not even thought about it.
Yes, so we'll be out in Paris on that bit of a EggChasers away day. So yeah, I'm basically getting apologies in early. But JB is coming.
I am.
We
I'm
discussed
gonna be
it
there. I'm gonna be there.
straight after the podcast last week. You went and booked flights.
I did.
Yes,
So
Fantastic.
I shall be present in Paris.
and apparently on the 9:30 a.m. on the Saturday morning. So we get there Friday on the
What's
Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. No,
No.
we're going to be watching a match of British Rugby Club Paris.
Sorry, what time?
9:30 a.m.
What?
British Rugby Club Paris are playing.
So
What?
they're playing away, and the only time the away ground is available, presumably because it's a multi-sport club like many in France are, is 9:30 a.m. So they have to play at that time.
Oh, it's away, is it?
Where are we going to fit
It
my
is, but I
Is it
don't know.
far?
I
No,
don't
I
know.
don't know.
But
We'll see.
if it's, I mean, there's
Hopefully we'll be
however
there.
many 7 million people in Paris, so you can have quite a few rugby clubs across 7 million people.
Yeah, hopefully. Not too far. Anyway.
So I was talking to, name drop, Mark Evans the other day.
Was he admonishing you for
He was
getting it wrong the other week?
He was telling me off for a few things that I got wrong. And actually, we didn't even talk about the thing which I got wrong, because we ended up talking for like 90 minutes about, well, fundamentally nonsense, very substantial nonsense. But it's something about the density of rugby clubs in central London, and it's basically zero. It's just
In
basically zero.
central, yeah.
Yeah, so all those people in London, they just don't have a rugby
Well,
club.
no one lives there.
Yeah, but they do. But
Yeah, but it's oligarchs.
London Oligarchs, that's a well-sponsored team.
That's a great team.
They definitely pay their players.
Oh, man. When we next have an EggChasers team, maybe that should be our nickname.
The
for
Oligarchs.
The Oligarchs.
I like it.
I like that as well.
Yeah, good, strong.
Oh, so yeah, the bowler where British Rugby Football Club of Paris, which is their English pub that they go to, it's not a million miles from our accommodation.
It's close.
Definitely walkable.
Yeah. And they're having a team social.
Is it cold in Paris at the moment?
Yeah.
It was below freezing this weekend. I think it's going to be more like 10 degrees. So more like the temperature now.
Delightful.
So you can still wear an excessively tight T-shirt.
Yes, I can. Thank God for that. Small mercies. So let's talk about the rugby.
Yes,
finally.
I just want to work backwards before we get into the substance of games. Let's work backwards. Firstly, now the pool stage is done, how do you feel about the format?
Better.
Yeah, it's the trade-off, isn't it? So you have slightly fewer pool games. To make up for that, you have the round of 16. But to get which I love the round of 16. But to get the round of 16, you've got to either massively increase the number of teams playing in the tournament, which you don't want to do, or increase the number of teams that qualify through to the round of 16. And I'm okay with it. I think it's not bad, because I'll take the trade-off, because I love the round of 16. I'll take it that you can qualify in 4th place by only winning one game, say.
Yeah, just adding to that. Previously, we had. Did they have 4 games in the old pool stage? Was it 6 games?
6 games in the old.
6 games.
You would get some dead rubber games across those.
6 games in pools of 4 with 2 qualifying.
So if you think about it, we'd have to see some terrible teams play 6 times. Well, actually, we only need to watch them play 4 times now. And then,
although there's more, what if terrible quote unquote, like the bottom teams in the pool, if you like. If you imagine them gone, they're not there. They don't exist. So Toulon, we wouldn't have had to watch them once.
Yep.
And who else finished
Cardiff.
bottom of their pool? Cardiff.
I'd happily not watch them.
Stade Francais and
Bristol.
I'm actually Toulon were fun to watch. They were fun to just watch.
I did
whatever was happening
implode.
there.
I loved that Munster game against Toulon.
The Exeter game against Toulon was great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
given
true.
lots of English clubs some great stories about how they beat the monsters of Toulon, who turned out not to be monsters at all. And so then you've got to see one semi-terrible club in the round of 16, and then they all go, and you've got one game less. So it sort of works. I understand why people were suspicious about it. I certainly was. I was not in favour of it. Now I've seen it. Just keep it, right? Just keep it. That's all I'm. Stop messing around with things. So the Super League playoffs are a fine invention in any format, really, as long as they keep them, right? But if you move and change and do different things to them every single year, you'll ruin it. Now we know what it is. It's done.
As you say, there's always trade-offs. So in the old format, I like it because it concentrated the talent. There was 16 teams, or 20 teams, not 24 teams. Or 16 teams, not 24. I can't remember what it was. 20 teams, 5 pools of 4.
There used to be 20 teams.
5 pools of 4 and straight to a quarter-final. The back-to-back fixtures were amazing. We don't get those. You don't, also, when you look at it, Ulster didn't get to play Cardiff, and they had to play 2 French teams.
Yes.
So it's like there's elements where I go, it just doesn't feel
Some
very...
of the French teams are terrible.
Yeah, like Stade Francais and
Yeah,
Toulon,
fair.
bottom of the group.
If you want to talk about trade-offs, some of the top 14 performances were pathetic. And I imagine they're pathetic because the top 14 in of itself is so brutal.
No, but I guess the point I'm saying is Ulster didn't get to play Cardiff, who they could have been under par as Ulster.
Oh, because they're both URC.
Because they're both URC. They didn't get to play them, and the other teams in the pool that they were trying to compete with to get into the top 4 spots did get to play Cardiff.
Yeah.
So is it, I should know this, being a rugby podcaster, is it URC versus URC that can't play each other?
Yeah,
Yes.
well, no,
So
you don't play anyone from your own...
Oh, yeah, fine.
Yeah, so
fine.
each pool has 2 from each competition, so 2 Prem, 2 top 14, 2
Yeah.
URC, and you only play once against the teams from outside your league. So there is also some luck of the draw in that.
Home or away, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to be... I mean, if you're going to be playing, say, Toulouse, it doesn't really matter.
You'd rather play them away and roll the dice.
But, like, if you're playing, say, the Stormers... You definitely want to play them at home. You don't want to have the attrition of going to... I mean, if you're out of the tournament and you get a weekend in Cape Town, in the middle of the Cape Town summer, enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
The other downside is something that we've seen this week, or seen in the last couple of hours, which is the potential for the repeats of the pool stages.
Yeah.
And the format allows for repeats in the pool stages, but equally the way that the pools work, if a team... So because the seeding, you rank every team from 1 to 16, and number 1 plays number 16,
Oh, I see exactly what
number 2
you're
plays
gonna
number
say.
15. So if you've hammered everyone in your league, then the lowest qualifier from your pool, the lowest qualifier from your pool is likely to be the lowest qualifier overall because they've been hammered by you.
You get them again.
Yeah. And so we see, I think there's 3 or 4 Bordeaux Saracens.
Stormers play La Rochelle.
Yeah. There's 4. Bordeaux Saracens, Northampton Munster, Stormers La Rochelle, and Leicester Tigers.
Yeah. There should be a provision to stop that.
Yeah. It then makes it more complicated, and you then will be playing someone higher, or you risk playing someone higher or lower than you deserve.
Yeah, more entertaining. Right, what's the objective here? It's to crown the best team in Europe. So the best team in Europe is going to have to win every game regardless, okay?
Yeah.
Straight knockout.
I understand having the home seeding to reward your efforts in the pool stage. I think that's great.
And the home seeding is retained as well.
Is retained. The highest, the top in the quarterfinal, the top 4 seeds still remaining in the competition based on pool stage performances will get home quarterfinals, as it should be. That's great. But if that's the objective, who doesn't love like an FA Cup draw with people pulling balls out of a thing?
Yeah.
Like if you want to create spectacle, you can reward with a home seeding. You can separate the top 8 and bottom 8. Have 2 pools. Someone from the top 8 plays someone from the bottom 8.
Rochelle qualified what, like 3rd in their group? Did they?
Yeah, and the point is
they did. Sorry,
yeah, they did.
So you're not really. It's not really an advantage. Really working hard to get La Rochelle.
2 years ago, when Ulster won every game in the pool, finished top, and you obviously remember who they played in a 2-round fixture, home and away, Toulouse.
Cheers, thanks.
They even went as far as beating Toulouse in Toulouse, only to lose and lose the 2-legged tie by a single point at home.
Yeah.
Cheers.
And I think I'm right in saying had Munster beaten Northampton, they would have been going away to Cape Town.
Yeah, you're right.
So
draw it out of a hat.
Draw it out of a hat, but give people home advantage, and then at least you may still get the repeat fixtures. But it's a much more entertaining process to get there.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
And I actually think you'd be...
And there aren't the permutations. Yeah.
So I think it'd be... I think it's higher than 1 in 4 that you're going to get the mirrored position at the moment. Whereas if you pull it out of a hat, it is 1 in 4.
Yes, well, that needs to be changed. I think...
Other than that, fine. Don't mess about with it.
No, I think it is the least worst option.
Now, should we talk about some games?
Can we not drag this out for another half an hour before we get to the games?
Just on the... What was I going to say?
Let's say what some cards first.
Say what the fixtures... Yeah, I was perfect. I was going to say, let's just quickly run through how the fixtures have landed for the round of 16.
Okay, yeah.
Quick reaction to that. And then, talk broadly about some of the big decisions, because they were talking points in and of themselves, aside from the rugby. So have you got the fixtures there, Phil?
I do. So first plays 16th, which is the inverse of our fixture next weekend. It's Toulouse hosting Racing 92. Then, as I see it... let's do it in second. So the opposite side of the draw, because these are kept apart.
Yeah.
Second ranked team plays 15th, and that is a repeat of this weekend's fixture. Leinster versus Leicester Tigers, but the inverse again. Mm-hmm. Then third play 14th, which is another repeat of this week's fixture, but the inverse. Northampton Saints host Munster. Fourth play 13th, which is a repeat of last weekend's fixture. My beloved Bordeaux play Saracens. Fifth play 12th, which is Harlequins versus Glasgow. And had Exeter won, it would have been a repeat of the Harlequins Glasgow. The Exeter Glasgow game. Then 6th, which is the Bulls, play 11th, which is Lyon. 7th, which is the Stormers, host again the reigning champions that they beat in Cape Town, which is La Rochelle. And finally, 8th versus 9th, the most evenly matched team, Premiership game, all Premiership, is Exeter hosting Bath.
Oof.
There you go.
Oof, that last one.
So there are only 2 inter-competition, as in... Intra, the same competition.
Yeah.
So Toulouse versus Racing and Exeter versus Bath.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Everything else is mixed up, so that's quite nice.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
There you go.
Red cards.
Right.
Let's do it.
Something's bothering me, right? I want to talk more broadly than...
Good. Yeah.
So, I don't know why I did it, but I did do it. I went back onto Twitter.
Oh, gee,
I can't remember.
The relapse?
I can't remember why. I was looking for something. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't to do with rugby. And because my other account is not banned by all the people that blocked me previously, I get to see some of the most stupid voices on Twitter all over again. So very triggering.
Is this your burner account?
No, it's my rugby account.
Oh, okay.
It's still active, right?
Yeah.
So I would have gone on the EggChasers account, but no one knows what the password is to it. So
probably for the best.
Yeah, probably the best. So the first tweet I come across is from a guy who's got some notoriety in rugby. He's been on a big rugby podcast. He's a legal professional, but as far as I can see, he's got the IQ of an Alsatian. And there's a certain type of person in rugby, and we all know who I'm referring to in the neckbeard blogosphere, who are just so delighted when these cards appear, and they love to talk about the intention doesn't come into it. Now, if you're talking about intention doesn't come into it in terms of literally that's what the law says, you're just stating what the law says. Okay, but if you mean it, you must be a fool. You must actually be stupid. So the way I thought about this is intention does matter, because let's flip it round. Let's just say, for example, that Caulfield, is that his name?
Josh Caulfield.
Caulfield. Yep. Let's say the camera picked up him, obviously lip reading. Have this, you C-U-N-T, as he's stamping on his head and looking in his eyes, right? But through some quirk of luck, he misses his stamp, right? Does that guy get red carded? Yes, he does, right? If I swing at someone and they duck, right? Should I be red carded? Should that player be red carded? He absolutely should, because the intention was to hit someone. And in both cases, right, should they go to a disciplinary panel, intention will definitely come into it.
And as a result, you would imagine not only will they get red carded, the maximum sanctions will be applied.
Right, yeah, exactly right. So we know intention is a thing, because when we add intention to an incident, it becomes a thing. So we know if it's there and it becomes a thing, then surely the opposite is true. Surely to God, the opposite is true. And then on top of that, you add this sort of legalese onto it. Like
the thing is, sorry, I don't want to cut your flow, but the thing is, I reckon the people you're referring to on Twitter and the like, who love to just quote the laws and it's not about intent, I bet they would actually agree with you on that point, but will not agree with the inverse. Yeah,
well, yeah, if you agree with one side, you have to agree with the other side by definition. By definition. So then the other thing that they do is, well, he was out of control of his body, so therefore it means that it was reckless, so on and so forth. Now, this is an absolutely fine concept, right? If, for instance, you are driving a car and you're to drive safely within very, very tight defined limits, it's not in a high kinetic contact game. It just isn't. There should be more rugby incidents. So, an example of this was Chris Kalute. And thank God that got downgraded, because if that didn't get downgraded, he tripped over the tackler. He was going to ruck and he tripped over the tackler who was on the wrong side.
The facts are his shoulder connected with the head of an opponent, but as a result of a trip. Yeah. So I was delighted to see. I mean, it was given as a penalty, which is almost like you have to go yellow or red card or nothing. It's an accident.
Well, I can't help but just think that was just a way of restarting the game.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's like free kick, and then free kick just feels a bit weird.
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
I think that was exactly the right handling of that.
Fair.
You've got to restart the game somehow.
Yeah.
So
you're right, though. There was to me, that looked like a common sense decision.
And so, like, the whole idea, he was reckless or changing behaviours or whatever it is, like, this sort of works, this legal point of view works if, you're a pilot and your job is to check your engines before you fly and you just can't be bothered. That's reckless. That's pretty reckless, right? You should be done for that. But to be a rugby player in those situations, I just don't think things are reckless. And also, we don't penalise people who are reckless. So Sam Graham scores a try, and a Munster player dives in feet first, and does not hit him. But he is not in control of his body in any. So why don't we just penalise that guy? Why don't we penalise Kyle Sinclair for kicking Josh Caulfield?
For tripping him?
No, he kicks him. He kicks Caulfield in the face. Right?
Okay,
as Caulfield is putting his foot down. Why do we not penalise that? And the idea that I've got to change the behaviour, they just seem to move the responsibility back. So it's sort of, you have to look at it very, very retrospectively.
I think the general point is your whole rugby players in a high moving, fast moving, high kinetic, high force game with body moving everywhere in milliseconds are being held to a highly unrealistic standard.
Yeah, they're using a set of laws or a set of standards which are fine for the civilian world, they just aren't fine for contact sports, and that's why we play contact sports, because they're slightly different. You have to govern them like a sport, not like, something else.
So I think do we all agree on Josh Caulfield?
So yes, well,
that was the quote unquote stamp on Finlay Beelum.
Yeah. So I agree with that. I don't have the same issue with the definition of reckless, and also I dislike the intent thing. So as in rugby, I dislike trying to determine intent. Rugby almost always doesn't attempt to discern intent on the field of play, because it is almost never, in the extreme example that you described, have this swing.
Yeah.
That never happens. I mean, a swinging punch, you know what someone's intent is, but you actually don't need to determine intent, because you've got the act, and the act of a punch is the thing that gets penalised, and then it will, in proceedings afterwards, be upgraded as a consequence of intent.
Yeah, fair.
Which is the right way to do it.
But generally, intent is not determined on the pitch. But I don't think it needs to be, because, and this is where I like the definition of reckless that World Rugby uses. It's if you do something where that you could or should have known that it was either dangerous or likely to.
Yeah, that's fair.
Will Muir
cause foul play.
What about Will Muir today colliding for that ball?
With Malia, that's just a rugby incident.
But it is reckless, right? Because he's not in control of his body when that happens. He would never have chosen to do that. So if someone gets really injured, that is reckless. But that's a collision sport.
Yeah.
But that's accepting
risk.
That risk and accidents are inherent in the sport of rugby, which is what the way that the Josh Caulfield incident was officiated, to me, denies the fact that accidents occur in the game of rugby, and is trying to litigate every contact for the head. And I think that's I don't know what a better phrase is than political correctness, but that's not what I mean. But I just mean to satisfy this hysteria that's been whipped up around.
It's to satisfy men who blog, who think like middle-aged, middle-class, university-educated women. That's who it's to satisfy.
Well, the unions have all signed on to this.
Yes, because they are obsessed with middle-aged, middle-class, university-educated.
So I think Caulfield can be a rugby incident consistent with not determining intent and consistent with the application of recklessness within World Rugby. I don't think those are contradictory statements. And there's one example that I come back to, which is where I think World Rugby got it completely wrong, and we're going back to 2015, where Alisana Tuilagi is charging down the lane. A Japanese defender dives at his knees and gets knocked out because the defender gets his head in the wrong place.
But no, you're meant to be tackling lower, so that's good.
You are meant to be tackling lower.
Yeah, I'm joking.
Not meant to get the head in the wrong place. But Alisana Tuilagi was doing nothing out of the ordinary. He was running as he is completely permitted to do. And if a Japanese player puts his head in the wrong place, or in the Caulfield incident, there is an interaction that causes someone to fall into your path, and you totally unaware and not acting at all recklessly end up stepping on their head neck area, then that is just a rugby incident, because you were just behaving normally. You were doing something that is allowed within the laws of the game.
It's a well argued point, that. So fine. It's down to each individual referee. I think JB and I would probably err on the side of we would have gone.
I would have gone.
Oh yeah,
rugby incident playoff.
And
I think that's consistent.
Yes, that's fair.
I think this was just bad.
Oh right, I see. Bad application.
I think
of the
this is just bad application of the law and the framework as it is.
But I do not think intent has to matter, because we know it matters.
But you don't.
But no, I think Phil's made a really. I think Phil's made a really realistic point in terms of we're not asking too much of referees to determine that. I think actually it's that word that gets used, maybe overused, but I'm going to say it again: empathy.
Yeah. So
a referee that wasn't scared of, oh God, my assessor's going to give me a load of shit on Monday morning, and actually was thinking, I just feel and understand what these rugby players are trying to do, I don't think would have sent Josh Caulfield off.
The way that I would mitigate it, right, is first of all, is it clearly illegal? So is the guy bolt upright? Like head to head, every head to head for me now is a rugby incident. because nobody wants to hit their head on someone else. So to me, I don't need to interpret. It might be illegal, but no one wants to go head to head. So it's not a conscious choice. It must have just happened somehow. And what they do with the reckless thing is they just change the decision point. So it's like, well, if he went head to head, he needs to have a coaching point. He should have known 5 seconds earlier to go lower. And if you weren't lower, then it's something you should have done prior to that.
I'll tell you what. Well, let's go through a couple of the other decisions, because I think we could probably all find areas of agreement on this. Curtis Langdon, Northampton Saints.
Do you know, I've not watched the incident properly, so I'll have to be guided by you guys.
First and foremost, hope Tom Ahern's okay, and he isn't. He's not out for too long, because he's been in amazing form, and he's in the Ireland squad. He's like an apprentice spot in the Ireland squad. But anyway, he's a class player, and I hope he's all right. Curtis Langdon. I mean, to me, and this one, a lot more people are less sympathetic towards Curtis Langdon from what I can see being written online and stuff. But I still think the same as the Josh Caulfield one, that accidents happen.
So on that one, I watched it with no sound, and I was in exactly the same position as you. When I watched it back with sound, I hadn't seen first time the secondary knee. So Ahern, the damage is done because
with the first knee.
With the first knee, yeah, and that is 100% a rugby incident. Then Curtis Langdon brings his second knee through and kind of knees him in the chest, which doesn't. I'm certain it doesn't cause any damage, but it's a stupid act, and because Ahern's already been knocked unconscious, I'm actually okay with that being red.
All right,
but
I'd have to watch it again.
If it was the first one, to me it's in exactly the same camp as the Caulfield incident.
I'm not as I don't feel strongly in any way. It looked accidental. One thing I will say is
definitely accidental.
Definitely, and that was the one that did the damage. I think that the referees shouldn't look at slow-mos, or they shouldn't base their decisions on slow-mos, because that looks so much worse.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot, we charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 up front for 3 months plus taxes and fees. Promo rate for new customers for limited time. Unlimited more than 40 gigabytes per month. Slows full terms at mintmobile.com.
Tired of ads barging into your favorite news podcasts? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free news podcasts to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of EggCast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.
And what I don't like, we've discussed this before, I don't like just because there's an injury there has to be something done.
Yes.
Because an injury can happen through a rugby incident and complete accident.
Rugby's a dangerous game. That's why we watch. That's why we watch it. Why we play it. Why we love it. The risk is the reward.
Yeah.
So if there hadn't been the first head knock, and Langdon's knee comes through afterwards and he gives him a little dig, no one ever would have seen that again. So nothing ever happens. It's only because he was laying prone on the floor.
Fair enough. Maybe it was silly act on his part. I don't.
That's what I would put it down to.
Yeah.
And if you do something silly that's illegal and you get spotted,
okay, that's fair.
Can I just say there were 2 incidents which were not cards, and I'm delighted that they weren't. So I do think the tide is turning. I do think we're slowly winning this argument. But Chris Clute.
Yeah,
I thought
spoke about it before. Yeah,
I mean, if he's tripped over, I'm not even sure it's a penalty, but something had to be done at that point.
Yeah. You have to restart the game. So
what was the second one?
It was a head-on-head in the Sale game. Aaron Reed gets a knock. I don't think it ended up as a yellow card.
I've not seen it.
Aaron Reed, obviously one of the fastest men in the Premiership, decides to change direction rather rapidly, as he is prone to doing, and someone is coming across him. And how?
Oh, yeah, who's covering? Yes.
Who were they playing? They were playing. Remind me.
La Rochelle.
Oh yeah, of course they were. So Bryce Doolan, I think it was, and what? It's one of the fastest men in the Premiership. Bryce Doolan's pretty fast. He's making the cover tackle. He steps inside. What is the coaching point? What is the coaching point here?
Let him through.
Yeah, there you go. It's just not worth head contact. Of course it is. So that happened. And I can't remember. Maybe
there's one in the last game of the day. There's one in the last game of the day, and I'm going to read an email here from Rob West. So shall I read the subject?
Sorry, maybe I was okay with it because it's a yellow card, not a red card, and they mitigated it down.
You've been conditioned to think that, Jamie.
Yeah.
The subject title for this is Ugo is almost right.
Oh, by the way, Ugo, can we just talk about Ugo for 1 second? Still no charges brought, right? Still no arrests made.
Okay.
No, I just want to say, the most racist incident ever captured by anyone in any rugby game ever, and promoted by TNT hosts, and there's still no arrests. And I'm going to check every single week, like I do every Monday, until we get an answer, and then there can be an apology. Please continue about.
Okay, JB. Anyway, well, the email from Rob. So Ugo was commentating on the Exeter game, and but the email's about the yellow card given to David Jenkins, and it says, "Great pod, guys." This is Rob West. Tonight's yellow given to Jenkins goes against everything we've been told about tackle height, and shows it in the stark light of what it actually is: virtue signalling. David Jenkins is bent at the hips with a horizontal back and is bent at the knees. He catches the chin, possibly, of the scrum half and gets a yellow card for what is a perfect, or as close as you can possibly get to perfect, tackle technique. The referee seems to think he could get even lower. No empathy whatsoever with the players who refs seem to think should be competing at the Limbo World Cup. He says on the commentary, Ugo actually comes out stating all of the above, or very close to, and yet states it is still the right decision.
Yeah. I think that can be mitigated down to...
the Langdon one's tasty, sorry.
Yeah, the second knee, when you look at it in slow motion, he looks down at the same time, doesn't he? Have you seen David Jenkins?
The first knee's ugly.
No, can I just say... I'd card him for that.
I'm
okay with. I'm
not again. I feel much less passionately about that one than anything.
I mean, I'm struggling to
look at David Jenkins' tackle. Like, tell me what on earth you're expecting. What's the coaching point for David Jenkins? the coaching point, as I see it, is don't bother tackling.
Don't tackle a 9 if you're a second row.
Yeah, don't tackle a 9 if you're a second row. Don't even attempt to. Let them run through.
Let's see if the David Jenkins one is on Twitter. No, it's not.
It is.
No, is it?
It is.
Well, I just type.
Oh, there's a slow mo. Yeah, I can see a still. So Steve Parrott has done a still of it, which is never stills are never good, but there's a still, JB.
They're never optimum anyway. But I don't know what you're expecting David Jenkins to do.
He is half his height.
Flat back, horizontal, knees bent.
That is
ludicrous.
Yeah.
And I think that can be. In fact, I think it can be not even a penalty and play on after restart the game somehow. But I am certain I've seen both Luke Pearce and Wayne Barnes give that as. There's nothing else he can do.
And this is on a broader point, because he mentions the commentary there, and it's not about Ugo. I think this is a general thing, and working on the inside over various years, I think there is a definite effort for commentary teams to back up referees.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Because
I think there is.
We live in a world that, just like, I'm going to make a horrible pop culture reference, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to say, no, I'm not going to do that. We live in a world where it is cool to bow to authority and just say whatever the authorities have said, we agree with. There's only someone like Austin Healey who knows his own mind, who will constantly go and talk about what he actually thinks, what he actually believes happened. The easiest thing for a commentary team is just say, yeah, well, the ref did this because... And I've seen some awful versions of this. I can't remember which analyst it was, but I think during the World Cup, they were just justifying the referee's blatantly wrong decision. This is why he's done it. And but you need to have a view on this, unless that is your view. But it's so clearly wrong. Yeah, you're right. They definitely back up the refs, and they're paid to give their opinion on what actually happened.
Yeah, and Austin is... He can be a bit too negative sometimes, but he's so good at that.
The commentary of that Leicester-Leinster game was a little bit cantankerous.
Well, did you enjoy the Novak Djokovic part?
Yes.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that.
No, I wasn't expecting that.
Well done, well said. Here. There's lots of crusty old rugby fans just like myself going, yeah, well said.
So, I am going to praise a referee for a second.
Yeah.
In the Exeter Bayonne game, your fly half Dol Hagari, got yellow carded just before half time for side entry to a ruck. Did you see the incident?
No.
So it had me checking law variations going back to 2017.
Of course it did.
Because Harvey Skinner was tackled, but there was only a tackler. So Harvey Skinner was on the floor, Bayonne tackler on his feet. Harvey Skinner laid the ball back, and the Bayonne 10 came in from the side and kicked the ball out of the ruck.
Oh, not allowed to do that.
So the 10's argument was, because instantly what I was thinking was that's not a ruck, but that got changed after James Haskell was going up to James Haskell and Dylan Hartley were going up to the French ref going, what are Italy doing? You got to help us.
I don't think that was.
That is when that got changed.
Because I don't know if you remember, people were kicking balls out of rucks. Like,
no, it's not the kicking.
Oh, okay.
There's an offside line.
Got it.
Yes.
If there's no defensive player involved in a ruck, it's not. Yeah. Historically, it was not a ruck.
Historically,
so there was no offside line.
2 players, one from each team,
competing for the ball over the
ball on the floor.
Yes.
In 2017, it was changed. So this was Harvey Skinner on the floor, and one defender who was on his feet, and therefore it was a ruck. Therefore, there is an offside line, and he didn't come from onside. He was offside and kicked it straight from the side into touch. It was a very fast decision by the Georgian referee, and it was.
I like him. I think he's a really good ref.
Yeah, he is really good.
The correct one. Yeah.
What was that called when Italy did it? What did we call
Foxing.
The foxing.
Foxing, kinky, isn't it? Foxing.
Yeah. Yes.
I'll make not a ref point, but a commentary point. Just go back.
And I want to make a commentary point as well, but you go first.
Okay, so I watched another sport this weekend. Care to guess?
I know what it was. So because you sent us a WhatsApp message enthusing about the commentary.
Yeah, I turned over. And because I'm a bit partial to netball occasionally, particularly the netball of Trafford Mitrovic, I thought, I'll watch 5 minutes of Nations Cup. And the Nations Cup hadn't quite kicked off. Now, as soon as I turned on the Nations Cup, I was horrified, absolutely horrified, because the commentary team was 4 women. So
no diversity, 4 women. So obviously the first thing I should do is turn it off, because I've not seen myself represented. How can I possibly engage with what they have to say? Like, it would just be... I'd be completely bemused. They should be wearing a jacket or a tight t-shirt or something. It's
the wrong type of representation.
CrossFit gear.
Anyway, I stuck with it because I'm more open-minded. I don't need to see someone who looks exactly like me to enjoy content. Honestly, it was brilliant. Like, it was absolutely brilliant. You had 4 women who knew the game inside out on such a deep level. There was no human story to it, really. There's not like, look at the hardship they went through to get here. It was none of that nonsense. There was a TV with a bit, so they could do some analysis. And in the 15 minutes of analysis, I was desperate to see this game. Absolutely desperate to see Grace, who is the New Zealand shooter. That's her first name, but she goes by Grace for whatever reason, against the best netballer in the world, a lady by the name of Bruce. And I was desperate to watch this because they spoke about it with such enthusiasm, and they clearly knew everything there was to know about this game because they had played it and they'd played it recently. And I thought you could not have someone from England men's netball team in that commentary team to talk about this in any depth or in any way near the standard that these girls are doing it. They were talking about body angles in attack, how particularly like how the New Zealand goal shooter continues to angle her body to make space. It was fascinating from start to finish. It's absolutely fascinating. Then I just thought, Christ, rugby's in such a hole, because we think it's more important that you turn on the TV and someone just looks like somebody else, and you can get away with it by having a basic knowledge of the game. But as I say about all these games, when they come on TV, you want someone who's played preferably that type of rugby. If it's men's rugby, it's men. And preferably someone who has played for the club or the competition or the nation that you are watching. Because they need to understand it, not just a superficial level, like you and I understand it. There's loads of people that can do that. But actually, in a really deep sense. And that's what they had. And it was absolutely brilliant. And I didn't want to turn off because there wasn't a man there.
Do you know that thing that rugby's been doing? This happened during the World Cup a fair chunk. And rugby, it seems obsessed with trying to reach out to new fans, so they end up dumbing it down a little bit.
Oh yeah, dumbing it down. Yeah,
dumbing it down. But rugby has got a massive issue with that. And you were just talking about you watch netball. I didn't watch that, but one thing that just popped into my head is the Olympics is coming up, and I get intensely into sports I've never watched before during the Olympics. And not a single person doing the commentary of the Olympics. There might be a quick explainer. This is how this tournament works. 30 seconds, and then bosh, they're into it. And then suddenly you know all the within a couple of hours, you know all the names of the main moves in ice skating, or the technique for shooting in a
quick draw.
Yeah, exactly. It's just,
or you know precisely to the nearest meter, to the precise meter, how long the 100-yard dash is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it just like we will all get massively into sports just in that moment. We don't. So rugby, needs to stop dumbing it down. Appeal to as we talk about all the time. Appeal to the people who love it, and if you do that with enthusiasm and knowledge, you will naturally.
It was so cool because I started thinking like this. What these girls are doing is then stop it. Like, how do you defend this? I needed to know more. So I phoned my sister, like, how do you defend in netball? Because it seems to be indefensible. Like, is there a ratio of points? Is that how you measure the team's performance? It's like that if we score 2 for everyone that they score, well, obviously you win. But is there certain times in the game where you need a certain scoring rate? It's like, how is this sport worked out? Because it's brilliant. And I suspect if they spoke about rugby in the same way, give them enough so you educate them, but leave them asking questions like how ball speed in netball. Didn't know it was a thing, but ball speed is a real thing. Australia have great ball speed, allegedly. How do you stop that? Same with ruck speed. Like mention it, and then let the audience think. Christ, I need to work out how
do I get my ruck speed up?
Yeah, what does that mean? Like how do you slow it down, or how do you defend it, or what's the answer? Everything has an antidote. So that was my takeaway. Netball, with its meagre funding, has much better commentary and analysis than rugby, and that was disappointing.
So I did notice the timing of you sending that through was when my beloved Ulster were on television getting handily pumped by Harlequins.
Yeah, all the games at that point were over. So Ulster were over, and who's the other game of the day?
Was it Racing at that time? I can't remember.
Yeah, Racing Cardiff was done.
I was watching, but I did want to have a little moan about the commentary in.
You don't often have a moan, Phil. So this must be
and I feel a bit hypocritical because we have occasionally mentioned that some comms teams have been like cantankerous old men, for example, and they were incredibly positive in this game. But I feel like the comms team were overdoing the praise, and Lewis Liner got man of the match. Wasn't supposed to be in the 23. I don't know if you watched the game, but it was mentioned a few times. Uh-huh. And then injury to Beardo meant he comes in onto the wing and played very, very well. His break for his first try was excellent, exceptional. Accelerating, bumping Billy Burns, all that good stuff. But they were praising his kick chase and never say die attitude. And they were so effusive with the praise, and it was the standard of which he did it was barely above Harry Arundel levels. He basically did the absolute minimum that would be expected. And Ulster twice, Stockers and Balakoon, both completely fluffed. Like, it wasn't amazing chasing. It was Ulster just cocked it up twice.
Yeah.
And so, if the try is because of a cock up, talk about the cock up. Like, don't praise something that doesn't really exist.
Toxic positivity.
So what you've just described, if you tie that up with commentary teams are, even if it's absolutely blatant, will not say referee's got that wrong in most cases, and in this case will not say that what a absolute shocker.
Yeah.
I think you lose credibility.
I think you do.
I completely agree.
Well, one of the things, it's not really a complaint, but it's quite funny, in the Northampton-Munster game, is the commentary team, I think they might have been Irish, they were certainly Celtic, and they kept on talking about Munster like this is going to be some spirited performance by Munster. Do they have that Munster spirit?
Callahan wearing his red
I'm thinking like,
No, they're losing to 14 men. It's not the limits of spirit. They're massively underperformed here. Like, there's nothing to be proud of. Like, you should be winning this.
I was watching I was watching a different broadcast, and it was kind of an all Irish half-time team, and the discussion there was about how much Munster were going to win by. Not even whether they would win. It was
love it.
I mean, that defeat would have hurt Munster in a bit of a hole,
especially in those conditions as well. For soft Northampton, like traditionally soft Northampton, with 14 men for more than half the game.
Hang on, boys. We're dangerously close to talking about some rugby.
Actual rugby.
Easy. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some rugby.
Let's talk about some rugby. We've put it off long enough.
I would say one absolutely remarkable results from Northampton, some good results, and a couple of poor results for Premiership teams.
Yeah.
6 out of the 8 Premiership teams qualified for the round of 16, which is pretty good going.
Who would I like? I'd love to talk about Saracens. I want to talk about Sale. I want to talk about Bath. I want to talk about them. I'm not that bothered about talking about Exeter because it didn't really matter.
And they got pumped as well by Tim. We can talk about how good Bayonne
when they turn it on are absolute dynamite.
The first try was amazing, wasn't it?
With ruck speed that quick, wait for Mateo Carreras next season. Woo! They've got some big boys. Luke Tangy. Oh my God!
How is he a professional athlete?
He's so good.
He's got lovely hands as well.
He's got amazing hands.
He did some incredible offloads. In fact, the third try, I think they scored one of the best tries of the season.
Yeah,
comfortably. It was incredible.
When they get going, ruck speed is exactly. In fact, did commentary say they've got the fastest ruck speed in the top 14? That's quite remarkable, to be fair. Yeah, they can really play. And I thought they were going to lose it at one point when Dan Frost fluffs his second try. I thought this is over for them. They can't contain Exeter. Don't know what Rob Baxter's done, what he's identified in their game, but they're well on top. And that fluff try seemed just to give a little bit more wind to the Bayonne sails.
I want to get down to Bayonne and see a game there.
You want to do it in the summer, mate. Yeah. About May. Yeah. About May is when you want to.
Also, seeing Phil's beloved Bordeaux against who they got?
A repeat.
They've got Saracens. Yeah.
Shall we talk about Saracens? Because I really want to slam Saracens. I really want to get
after a good win against Lyon that got them qualified.
Wow.
5-point win.
Let's talk about this game, right? Both these teams were garbage. Like, they were hot garbage from second one till the very end.
Let me just very quickly dovetail from what we were just talking about a minute ago to this. I'm done with winning teams man of the match. If the best player on the pitch should get man of the match. David Niniashvili was the best player on the pitch.
Yes, he was, easily. He's the most talented. Well, no, he wasn't. He wasn't easily the best player. Maritoji was the best player.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Maybe Maritoji. Theo Dan shouldn't have got the award.
No.
Niniashvili or Itoji should have. But
Maritoji, basically, on his own, won that game. And your other boy did his very best to stop Maritoji winning that game.
Niniashvili was...
But everybody else was absolute hot garbage.
I will put a few notable mentions for some of the young... Argentine Saracens in Cinti and Gonzalez.
I mean,
but
Toby Knight looked good when he came on.
They were okay.
But he looked better than Billy.
They weren't okay. Yeah. And this is what gets me about Saracens now. For a club with such massive rugby IQ, all the coaches are the same. It tells me one of two things. That the coaches look at this squad, they think, we are rubbish. I honestly think they might think this. Because that's why they're playing the way they are. And what I mean by that is this beautiful attacking play, which is great to watch, but it's so unstable and it's so uncertain for them. They can't control a game. They've got to score, and if they don't score, they're screwed. And some of the things...
They know that they don't want scrums.
They don't want scrums.
And they don't even really want a line out.
They are doing everything in their power to try and formulate a winning strategy, which is one of the worst strategies. I mean, even Northampton, right?
But it's not a bad strategy. It's never going to win championships.
No, it's not.
But it might be the best they can do with the tools that they've got available.
I suspect that is probably it, because these guys are not stupid. They're the cleverest, smartest group of rugby players and coaches, and maybe in rugby.
And accountants.
Yeah, and accountants. Don't forget the accountants, of course, right?
Which is one of the things that makes their lack of front row so odd.
Yeah.
That they are not spending any money at all on their front row. And it is performing like a front row that's not, not spending any money.
They know internally that they're rubbish, because otherwise they'd be... But here's the other thing. They were doing things which I've never seen Saracens do before. And I don't mean good things either. Like not covering kicks properly, letting kicks bounce. The back three play was woeful. And I'm just thinking, what are they practicing in? What are they doing at the moment in training for this to happen? Because they look so far removed from the Saracens of old, who would, control the territory, gradually increase the pressure, back their D. In fact, if anything, they don't want to see defence one bit. They just don't look confident. And the only time they do look confident is throwing. I'm sure they got turned over trying to attack out their own 22. Now, maybe that could be because they needed the points. Maybe they need the tries.
Do you know what, Saracens, to draw an analogy, you know those times when, and I'm fortunate and touch wood, I've not had many serious injuries in my life generally, but certainly not when I was playing rugby. But Phil, definitely, I could bet this. You know, like Phil, when you have one of your many, many injuries over the years, when you first go back to doing something that you could do before and your body doesn't let you do what you did, say lifting a... Yeah, you go to lift do a deadlift, and I can't do what I did only a few months back. Feels a bit like Saracens are that person there. Yeah. Like, I can imagine that there's probably a little bit of panic privately amongst some of those players. They're like, we're the same people.
Well, core is still world class. Yeah. Okay, well, I said the core. Owen Farrell and Maratoja are still world class.
Ben Earl still world class.
Ben Earl. Yeah,
and Jimmy George is, although he wasn't playing.
Jimmy George
game,
wasn't playing, right? But those three are world class, and everyone else is just.
Elliot Daly still the hit he put in on his opposite number with about 5 minutes to go.
They just don't have enough supporting cast to do anything special.
They still have some stars, but some of the stars have fallen off a cliff.
Yeah,
they're still taking the money that they were earning on the basis of what they were able to do, but. Billy Vunipola, for example, I feel cruel because he's had such a great career, but he is a shadow of him.
He is.
Where he has been.
And he's one who has had many injuries as well. And getting back, and he's 130 kg, 30-year-old back row.
Yeah, Van Zyl he's an okay scrum half. And now he'd be perfectly serviceable with a massive pack and Owen Farrell. And I think actually... The Saracens have not spent a lot of money on good scrum halves. Well, because they just haven't.
Yeah, they've got away with having very solid scrum halves who can do a few basics very well.
Not world beaters.
Yeah. They just, but they don't need it the way that they play.
So Saracens, one thing they do, they pay a lot of money to the great players that we've already mentioned. They identify players that they think have potential and they upskill them. So that's what they did with what's the name of the world? Aled Davies. They did a load of work with him. Theo McFarland, they did a shit ton of work. They did hours and hours and hours of work with his restarts, with all of that sort of stuff to upskill him.
Yeah, I think they should shed all their senior players now and start again. That includes Farrell, that includes Itoji. Go and let them win trophies elsewhere on someone else's dime. You're not going to get relegated because there is no such thing. And just go through like Exeter have done, just go through the process again because they're good enough as an organisation. But they've got this weird mix of ex-champions, declining ex-champions. And actually, I'm not even sure that chemistry works. Do you want to be held to account by Owen Farrell when he's trying to win things and he's in that mindset and you're just trying to find your feet in the Premiership? That's a really hard thing to do.
They've got to do something different.
On the flip side, Farrell managed to do that, and Jamie George managed to do that, and Mario Toji.
Yeah, but they were surrounded by heroes. I mean, when Farrell,
but these young guys are surrounded by heroes.
Yeah, but when Farrell was making his debut, I'm sure, was it Charlie Hodgson playing at 10?
There was there was John Schmidt and Jack Berger.
Yeah, maybe Jack Berger was a little late, but I tell you who it was. France captain and hooker. Ibanez.
No, he played at Wasps.
No.
Saracens
and Wasps.
Oh, yeah, Saracens and Wasps.
Yeah, he went Saracens Wasps. Yeah, I mean, they had loads of great players. So they just came into a team with great players who were not great, and then I think that was that cohort that made the team great.
I haven't seen enough of the next cohort. Yes, fine, Theo Dan's come through, and Mitchell looks good in the back row, Toby Knight as well, but yeah, you want to see some of these guys coming through.
Is it Hartley, the 12?
Yeah, that's true. Hartley as well.
He's reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a few bits and pieces, but they need more. They need a lot more. A lot more.
Agreed.
So,
and they're going to get handily beaten again by my beloved Bordeaux.
Yeah, they are.
Just on Northampton, we can switch over to them. Like they, for a few years, were playing like Saracens are playing now, and even they've realised that you have to have a foundation of kicking
and a foundation of territory and set piece and all that stuff.
So,
when Northampton realise that, you know there's something in it.
But I know that realising it and doing it is two different things. But like, how was that ever news to anyone?
Yeah, yes, absolutely true.
I'm glad they've switched onto it, and Phil Dowson's done a really good job at addressing the issues that needed to be addressed. But you do wonder how they went for so long, not honouring those time-honoured, absolute non-negotiables.
Well, what was the American football analogy? Like you learn the basics, and then you learn the really complex stuff afterwards. Well, in Northampton's case, they seem to have mastered the really complex stuff, and then retrospectively just put on a bit of a scrum, a bit of a line out, and it's fine. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's some real important talking points from the Northampton-Munster game, which is Northampton winning with 14 men, and the muscularity that they showed in that win was absolutely phenomenal.
Well, we've got an email actually touching on this.
Oh, yes, please.
Sorry. Oh, come on. Hold on. Saints. Oh, I'll find it. You carry on talking, I'll find it.
Yeah, so it's becoming a cliche now, talk about Northampton having some grit. But I think it's a landmark win for them, going to Munster, being a man down, and still winning.
Yeah, in those conditions.
I would say that there is a slight context that Munster are missing masses of their team. That Munster bench was poor. They had nothing to offer when they came on, and they are like, if they were playing Munster, they don't win that game.
Yeah, I have some sympathy for injuries and whatnot, but everyone's injured all the time.
Munster's is particularly.
I've got to say, Northampton have been very lucky for injuries. I mean, they always seem to be able to put out a lot of their key players. I've not seen Ludlam for a while, but other than that, they miss them.
Ludlam's been out for a while. Have you read? There's been a couple of articles. I can't give credit to the journalists, but on the bulking phase of the Northampton squad over the summer.
I heard it first from Charlie Morgan.
Oh, that's what. So yeah, I found the email, and Robert Jordan, contact EggChasers@gmail.com. He just said, "Lads, have you seen the Telegraph article about Saints players bulking up? They clearly they listen to the pod."
So they were only allowed to do 10k of running in a week, and they were doing multiple 5-6 weight sessions.
Love it.
Plus excess calories, and not the running to atrophy.
Northampton, semi-linked but not exactly linked, have got one of the better YouTube channels, or someone in Northampton's got one of the best, not YouTube channels, Instagram accounts, showing them lifting weights. Ooh, and it's really quite nice. It's really, really quite good. Just to be clear, Charlie Morgan doesn't listen to the podcast. He told me that, and then I said it on the podcast.
So I've read maybe even that article. But I've read articles about that.
Yeah,
on the weightlifting.
Me quoting Charlie Morgan quoting me. Something like that. That's what's happening there.
So I'm not taking anything away from Northampton. It was an absolutely famous, fantastic win. But Munster are without Snyman and Klein and Haley and a bunch of other forwards, loads of forwards. O'Donoghue, they're without about 10 proper frontline players. So they've got it particularly badly with injuries, but great win for Northampton. As for Bath, email here, Jack Furlong, contact eggchasers@gmail.com. Good way to segue into Bath a little bit with an interesting question. It's quite an interesting point. He says, in the same way that Mercer is a peacetime 8. Was that what did you say?
Yeah.
That was from our friend Ollie Poole.
Yeah.
I think it might have been.
Yeah, Zach Mercer is a peacetime 8. Is Redpath a peacetime 12? When Bath need the weight for a serious midfield, they go for a Jomo and Lawrence, leaving Redpath for the running games.
I don't think so. I think Bath are blessed with 3 of the best centres, if not the best set of inside backs in the Premiership. Might even be in Europe, to be honest. I know that's a big shout. Finn Russell, the way he is one of the best investments, not just for Bath, but for Premiership rugby, full stop. He's exactly what Premiership rugby 100%. Needs. He plays, there's nothing particularly controversial about him. He's not an idiot in the press. He doesn't seem to be too much of an idiot off the field. Not that I've seen. I mean, you don't see any headlines about him which are negative. And he just plays...
There's videos from a few years ago with him enjoying a drink with Laidlaw. But that's a good thing. After a Six Nations win.
Just isn't. He's not. He just plays the game with a smile on his face. Like, he's constantly laughing, but the way he plays is so beautiful. So we've got him. You've got Redpath. You've got Ajomo, and then you've got Lawrence. And any two of those three work fantastically. And I just think it's rotation.
I'm going to say that I think it's a very close thing. I was just thinking about that. So when you say inside backs, you mean like 9, 10, 12, 13?
Yeah, I say 10, 12, 13.
Okay, 10, 12, 13.
But some people say 13, 11, 12, 15 are outside backs.
And if you go, so, okay, if you go...
Midfield.
If you go 10, 12, 13, so, yeah, Finn Russell and those two, you got a good shout.
Well, those three.
And those three, I would go... Yeah, but you can only pick two of them. I would go...
Yeah, I said collection.
I think Harlequins might... We're just purely...
Smith.
13 Bath are better, but
Esterhazy.
Smith and Esterhazy.
Because Esterhazy is
incredible.
And because it's such a problem position.
Yeah.
And he's
unreal.
Damn
Lauren,
big
I mean,
strong.
Yeah, I mean, there are some good combinations. I just think Bath with those three, because what I like about those three is if you take out Esterhazy, there's no replacement. But you take out any one of the three centres I've mentioned for Bath, the other one just slots in.
Yeah,
and they just. I mean, that's why
Redpath, because Jomo can play. He is more like Redpath, but he can do a bit of both.
Yeah, and he can play a bit of 10 too. Redpath can play a bit of 10. Like, they're just really, really good. Now, I don't know if Bath are what I dislike, which is a team just full of good players playing good rugby, or if they're actually becoming a good rugby team. And that's a very different thing.
I think they've built a good pack unit, and I think they've got some good cohesion in the backs. So I think they're getting there.
Okay, let me throw a question to you about Bath then. If you were to, like, we know what Northampton do, we know what Saracens do. I think I know in detail what Leicester do. What do Bath do? Describe them to me. Do you think they have a style yet? Because I don't quite know what it is.
They do have a forward style that's been about for a few years. It's the reason why Tom Dunn has scored so many damn tries over the last few years. Yeah. They're very good at kicking for the corner and driving mauls. And their backs. So Finn Russell kicks. His kick-pass ratio earlier in the season, it probably still is, was the highest in the Premiership. So he kicks more from hand than any other 10 in the Premiership, which leads into the first point. But they also, when it's on, they go wide fast, and they've got the men to do it. Like Falconer-Singer and I don't know if you've heard of their young English winger.
Go on, what's his name?
Will Muir.
No, tell me more.
Surely Scottish qualified.
The development in Falconer-Singer has been nothing short of remarkable.
Yes.
And I had a bit of a moment today. I was watching the Bath fullback, Gallagher. And I was thinking, Christ, he's a lot better than last week. And also, when did he become so fast? And I was pondering this for a while. Then I realised it was de Glanville playing fullback next week. Gallagher looks really good.
There's talk of him going back to Munster.
Is there?
Yeah. I think he might have actually.
And they moved him.
Paper this week. Yeah, there you go. Gallagher set for Munster return.
Oh, nice.
Bouncing back and forth. We can't just we can't spend too long talking about this. Anything else you particularly want to say? Because it was a great.
I just want to say one more thing. Did you see the execution of Gallagher playing at first receiver for Bath and then pulling it out of the back to Finn Russell? Everyone knows it's going to happen, but it was beautiful.
Yeah, I do like that. I do like because it's so telegraphed. But it still gives him the time that he needs.
Yeah, I thought that Bath were going to get absolutely smashed in this game when I saw those two teams, and I think Bath.
But we can't talk about this fixture and just talk about Bath. Toulouse are ridiculous when they get going. They're so good.
Yeah,
Meafu
is an absolute animal, and
Jack Willis.
It's just so good at the breakdown. Dupont when he turns it on Ramos. They got some.
Ramos
had a quieter game by his standards.
Ramos was ace.
Dupont. Dupont, yeah.
He got shackled.
Just on Ramos, right? Like, I watch this guy and I'm thinking, like, am I watching one of the greatest fly halves of all time play? Or am I just watching the deputy for the other guy who's injured?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point. Had Finn Russell given that pass that Ramos did to Malia, where it was about 25, 30 metres off his left hand, perfectly into Malia, so he did not break stride at top speed to ghost in at the wing.
In the corner,
Had Marcus Smith or Finn Russell done that, people just been going mad.
Well, to be fair to Ramos, I mean, yeah, I do think that Finn Russell's. I mean, you just heard what I said about the guy, but Ramos is every bit as good. Like maybe not as exactly the same things he does, but he's good in the same way Finn Russell is. Like just these unexpected, incredible bits of skill, but in a slightly different way because he can operate from fullback, and actually he's even better at fullback. Ridiculously, I mean he's incredible. He's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Toulouse are a serious team as well.
Yeah, they are.
Now they are going to be missing Dupont for the rest of the tournament, as are France, and we might get to see Dupont's last game of 15's Union.
But he might be back for the knockouts for Toulouse.
I don't.
Really?
Yeah, they were saying it in commentary, like, he might be back. It's uncertain.
All right.
Is that if he doesn't make the Olympics? Because when's the Olympics will be?
In the summer? I got no idea.
He's not making the Olympics, but yeah, interesting one to watch. Bulls v Bordeaux was a wild game. Without 86 points in the searing Pretoria heat.
Who won?
But the Bulls 46 points to 40. Bordeaux were without Penaud and Jalabert and Moefana and Luku.
It wasn't a full second string,
but Bulls were without Arendt and Moody. So it was so much fun to watch. Really good fun.
Proper Super Rugby scoreline.
Yeah, it was Super Rugby scoreline. Leinster was gritty, tough. Really good first 20 for Leicester.
Yeah,
put it about, and then Leinster just put the foot.
Leicester have a style of play, right, which is not going to go down well against the big boys in Europe. So let me explain. Do you remember Saracens Leicester a few weeks ago? Leicester play like an international team. Their ferocity is like that's how they want to play. But in doing so, they also invite other teams to play like an international team. So for the Premiership, it's okay because I think they're the most international-looking team. Well, they are in terms of caps. They just have internationals everywhere.
They kick a lot.
Yeah, they kick a lot. They try, but you're not going to get much change out of playing that kind of game, inviting the contact onto you against La Rochelle and Leinster. And I think that's exactly what happened. They set out their stall. They're quite aggressive at what they do, and they got battered. They got battered because the guys playing opposite them just they can just handle it.
One thing I will say from a Six Nations point of view is there were some Irish players in that Leinster team who they're great players but haven't been at their best, who are starting to come into a bit of form. Ty Furlong looked like old Ty Furlong. Yeah. And Andrew Porter looked mean.
James Lowe
looked really good.
Well, Jordan Lama starting to come back into form after.
Robbie Henshaw looked good. Gary Ringrose always looks good.
And Caelan Doris
always looks good.
He was ace.
And the other one, Joe McCarthy. Every
Joe
game
McCarthy
I see
was really good.
He's class.
Although I can't help but think that try shouldn't have been given. The tackle on the knees, get up. Yeah, I felt like that wasn't a try. Not that it would have changed the result, but
yeah.
I particularly enjoyed the last 5 or 6 minutes of this game, from about 78 minutes onwards, because both teams needed the point. Both teams needed to score another try.
Yeah.
And so neither would kick the ball out. It was excellent to watch.
Yeah, it was really
So I think
fun
you should maybe give an extra bonus league point for the final, whoever scores the final try. Just to incentivise that kind of chaos again. Everyone was absolutely, because it had been a very, very physical game. Everyone was out on their feet, but they could not. They had to keep the ball in play.
They really could have done with George Martin. He could have been a difference maker.
He wouldn't have made a difference.
He would have made a difference.
He'd have made a difference.
He made a difference.
He would not have changed.
He would not have changed the result.
No chance.
They could have done with
4 George Martins. Yes.
They could have done.
Well, you've got George Martin. You've got Chesham. You've got
Chesham going off injured as well.
It's Leinster. It's Leinster. They're playing Leinster.
They're a good. You had Montoya to that, you had Raphael to that. They're not a million miles off. These games don't take a lot of changing.
They needed a Franz Malherbe and a 2010 Marcus Ayertz.
Yeah, they
needed some more steel up front.
A bit more up front would be nice, wouldn't it?
Stormers got a good win in Paris against Stade Francais. The Stormers have just don't win in Europe. They've lost.
Stade have given up though, haven't they?
No, they went for it. They put out a strong team and were going for it. There was no crowd there really to speak of. But no, Stade were trying to give a good account of themselves. And I think, if I'm right in saying, no, they couldn't have qualified.
Yeah.
No, they couldn't have qualified. But anyway, for Stormers to win in Europe for the first time, that's pretty good going.
And Stormers to secure a home semi-final.
That's massive for whoever has to go to Cape Town. Well,
it's La Rochelle. Yeah.
Did either of you boys watch Sale today?
Little bits of it. I didn't get to watch the
It was brutal. It was absolutely brutal.
Gregory Aldrich's good at rugby, I hear.
Yeah, so let me give you a few key points on this game. First of all, the scoreline flatters Sale because I don't think they had a single point until maybe 50 minutes.
55 minutes.
2 tries in 76 and the 81st minute.
Was it?
Now, 30 points to nil doesn't sound like it's going well for Sale. But I tell you what, there was large parts of that game where their defence was on point. But here's the thing. They had to defend at 100%. And they had no threat whatsoever in attack against La Rochelle. One of the interesting things was they dealt with Will Skelton really well. Really, really well. So every time he ran in, they had one guy on each leg. Like, he was not as effective as he normally was. But despite all that, just the weight of the La Rochelle carriers. I mean, La Rochelle were not themselves today.
I mean, Will Skelton, part of the advantage, that's part of what he does well. Just, if you're sucking in players at a 2 or 3 to 1 ratio, like, even if you don't make any meters, there's meters for other players there.
It's one of those things, like, you're watching... Oh, Gus Waugh was awesome today. Gus Waugh... he turned it up to 11, like 11. And there's one bit, there's this wonderful moment, I hope someone's got it recorded. Gus Waugh's arguing with one of these La Rochelle monsters, or he's on the floor with someone, and Weenie Antonio picks him up by his collar in the most, like, demeaning way that you could ever imagine. And when Gus Waugh, turns around to say something to him, he puts his hand out like a big, gentle giant to sort of diffuse the situation. It was like, the whole range of emotions. Then Gus Waugh takes he tries to take a penalty, right, a tap penalty. The referee's called advantage, but he's not blown his whistle. So Gus Waugh tries to take a tap penalty and gets tackled or whatnot. I think it's by Bottier. And he goes absolutely nuts with Bottier. So he's mouthing off at Bottier and also Skelton simultaneously. And they're both completely confused. They're completely confused because they are enormous and Gus Waugh is a tiny, tiny man. And then another time he tackles Hastoy. Hastoy dives on the floor. He stands over him and shouts at him to get up. Yeah, he was very, very good.
Just looking at Sale's team. Have they got loads of injuries or are they resting players?
Did you not see my...
Onasanya, Bamba, Beaumont at number 8.
Bamba, he played really well.
Yeah, I know, but I don't need to talk about that. Like, I'm sorry, don't need to. That's not my point. I'm just going. These are not front like you would imagine. Front
yeah, so I did. I don't know if you read the WhatsApp group, but I pointed out some of the matchups which weren't going to go Sale's way. One would be Asanya versus Antonio. No, thank you, no, thank you, mate. The second rows in general. In fact, the front 5 in general. And then I said no, actually the whole 8, to be fair. I think Beaumont has been a fantastic club servant. I think he actually did really well, but he's not Gregory Aldrich.
No, there is a bit of a difference there.
Yeah. When Johnny Hill went off as well, it was like, well, that's the big man gone. But Bamba did really well. Like, really, he worked hard, he didn't let himself down. And then Sale sort of came into it towards the end. I think it's more a case of La Rochelle. To kind of
job done.
Save
it was. It was.
The scoreline looks respectable.
And it was, it, honestly, for the first 50 minutes, Sale had absolutely nothing to threaten La Rochelle with. They defended well, but there was just there's no attacking threat. La Rochelle have got a Georgian prop who might be bigger than Weenie Antonio. Like, legitimately bigger.
Any more on the rugby front before we push it on?
Glasgow got. So I'm just thinking of the games I watched. Glasgow got a good win.
Huey Pilotu looks good again because it's interesting. What does Scotland do? I would go Huey Pilotu rather than Redpath to Pilotu.
Probably, yes. I probably would.
They look good again.
I would go Redpath Pilotu because it reminds me of Redpath Lawrence. So you got Finn, Redpath, and to a Pilotu. That seems very dangerous.
Very, very dangerous.
I would just ask Finn, what do you want?
Yeah. What defence playing with?
I can go with that.
Yeah, I think we've covered everything that I've seen in some depth or none at all, in which case we're talking about Ulster, which, other than the comms, I don't want to talk about anything in that game.
Good.
But Harlequins were very good.
Excellent.
So, I've got a question for you. Which of the English teams do you think is going to do best in this year's comp?
Northampton.
I'm going to say Bath. After their performance against Toulouse today.
Bath are going, even if whoever wins out of Bath Exeter is going out in the quarter-final to Toulouse.
Okay, which team is not going to go out in the quarter-finals?
Northampton.
Why?
If they come through against Munster, they will have a home tie
against Bulls or Leon.
That is
winnable for Northampton.
Leon. Yeah, Leon are rubbish, so don't worry about them. They all get smashed by Northampton. Bulls might be a bit more tricky.
But Bulls travelling to...
Bulls will be at Franklin's Gardens.
If he's in Pretoria, much harder. It's still a hard game.
But, Bulls Bulls are used to travelling, so the effect on a travelling Bulls team is much less than the effect on a travelling Northampton team who just don't go to South Africa. That's the first thing.
I totally agree.
That's kind of my point. Northampton travelling to Pretoria, I would not fancy Northampton in that.
No, not at all. But for a South African team in the quarterfinals of the European Cup, I think they're going to be formidable.
Leicester are going out in the round of 16.
Yeah,
Saracens are going out in the round of 16. Bath or Exeter are going out in the round of 16. So that's 3 of them gone. Quins will probably beat Glasgow, and then they will face Bordeaux away. So Quins could do that.
Quins can beat Bordeaux.
No, they can't.
I don't think they will. I don't think they won't.
They can.
They can.
Bordeaux is one of the most impressive rugby outfits I've seen in about
any given
5
Sunday
years.
and all that. Any given Sunday and all that.
Bordeaux team is a hell of a team. Quins can beat them.
They can beat them,
but they won't.
They won't.
I guess it's possible. Or we wouldn't bother playing the game.
That is a quarter-final I would love to watch.
It's maybe 1 in 5. Whereas this Saracens team would play that Bordeaux team 20 times and they're going to get hammered every time.
Whereas when you look at so we're not saying any of those. We're not saying any of them are getting past the quarterfinals, and at least 2 of them aren't expecting to be in the quarterfinals.
Well, Northampton Saints could make a
Northampton can beat Munster at home, and then Bulls or Leon at home is favourable.
Who do Bath have in the quarters?
Toulouse away.
Right, Toulouse away. Now, I'm not saying you should hope, right? But I tell you what, a Bath pack, because they had a lot of people in there who were injured, a Bath pack, when you add Ted Hill and Sam Underhill, if they get fit, that is formidable. That is 2 game-changing players of real high quality.
And Toulouse will not be the same without Dupont.
Correct.
France will not be the same without Dupont.
France will be mourning.
Of course, we're going on the...
Yeah, Northampton, assuming they beat Munster, which they may not because Munster are a hell of a team, assuming they beat Bulls or Leon, they have the distinct pleasure of facing the winner of last year's final, La Rochelle versus Leinster. So, Northampton, I don't think they can be in a semi-final. I don't think they can beat either La Rochelle or Leinster.
Yeah, when you look at it, that semi-final in the bottom half of the draw, someone's going to get ground into paste.
But then in the other semi-final,
but then you just don't know.
In the semi-final, could well be Toulouse versus Bordeaux.
Yeah, that looks sexy.
Right,
that looks so sexy.
I've also come up with a metric for brave players, or a brave player event. Players that are willing to pick up the ball, their own ball, when they are attacking the try line. So do you know when you're picking and going? The player I don't like is the player that rucks over when it's not needed to avoid carrying the ball. And
I'll just make this really, really secure.
Yeah, this is so secure now. Off you go, Chris Kalute, pick it up. There's 2 players for Bath who needed to be on the ball at all times. One is Benno Obana. Every time Benno Obana picked up the ball at short range, he was going places. And I can't remember who the boy was, but he kept on clearing the ball. Like, pick it up now. Don't be a coward.
It's almost like it's a different word. It's not far off a ruck inspector. That's the last person to arrive at a ruck and who just sort of in a defensive line and just stands and puts their hand up. Just go,
ruck, something.
I've got this, guys.
Yeah, it's something, isn't it? But I saw it a few. I tell you who do not do that in any way, shape, or form. Or Exeter. They can't get their hands on the ball quick enough because they're all incredibly brave. Now, I'm not saying there's someone in Bath that isn't brave, but watch it again. There are some lads that they don't want to. They're sort of looking around the fringes. Like, I'll just secure it anyway. Pick the ball up.
Or they just play into the strengths. So Graham Dorr, when he was head coach at Plymouth, my brother played for him, one of his first professional senior teams after leaving the Bath Academy. Anyway, he was told, as were about five or six of the pack, you are not allowed to pass the ball.
Love it.
Never ever pass the ball
under no circumstances.
Under no circumstances will you.
You could have an intercept in your 5 metre line.
Yeah.
You've got the winger outside you who's got a clear run in, but do not pass the ball. Take
Do
contact.
not ever pass the ball. And there were players that were allowed to pass the ball, and there were players that were not allowed to pass the ball.
Love it.
And that's nothing to do with skill set, because my brother's actually had really good. Has got really good hands. But
It's also a big unit. Go forward.
yeah, exactly. It's a risk thing. It's a risk and trade-offs thing. So maybe it's just that Johan van Graan has said you're not allowed to pick and go. You're not allowed to pick and go.
Perhaps.
Or if we can engineer it for exactly the reason you mentioned, every opportunity we get,
I tell you
get Benno Urbano picking up the ball.
Tell you the two boys which were superb today, and they don't match up well on paper, were Miles Reed and Josh Bayless. They were absolutely superb, and they don't match up well. I mean, they're just two guys. I mean, actually, one of them is international now, to be fair. But, you've seen, they're not Willis, whoever it is and whoever it is.
Jalonch and Crow.
Yeah, they're pretty tasty.
They're quite good. Any more?
Question before we do next week's games. I looked up before when we were talking about Saracens and Owen Farrell. His debut was in 2008 in the EDF Cup, EDF Trophy, EDF Energy Cup, against Scarlets, and he came on off the suspension the 63rd minute, and he came on, replaced the starting inside centre for Saracens in 2008. Who was that?
Andy Farrell.
Starting inside centre. It was not.
Oh, was it not?
It was not Andy Farrell.
Brad Barrett.
Not Brad Barrett. I'll give you a clue.
No clues.
No clues. Okay, the clue might help, but...
Okay.
Was it Tim Horan?
It was not Tim Horan.
2008.
No, that's well.
So how many years ago was that?
16.
16 years ago. Okay.
Farrell was 17 at the time.
Mark McCall.
No.
He was a 12.
Not Mark McCall.
For Ulster, though.
I'll give you a clue that it will help a bit. It'll help get you further than you currently are. This player is still in the Saracen squad.
What?
Wow.
Alex Good.
Alex
Oh,
Good
well done, yeah.
Started at 12 in this one game. I've no idea if he started more games at 12, but 2008 he started at 12.
Been around a long time as Alex Good.
He has been, yeah.
Oh, some names. I've just typed in Saracens 2008 squad. They could do with Census Johnson right now.
Yeah, they could.
That's what they could do with.
Certainly could. God.
Oh,
yes.
Cobus Visagi, another massive prop. Chris Chesney.
Didn't Cobus Visagi come from Leeds?
Maybe.
Yeah, he did.
Dave Seymour and Andy Saul, their open sides.
Dave Seymour went with Steve Diamond up to Sale.
Richard Hill, Paul Gustard in the back row.
No Dave Seymour, are they?
No.
Dave Seymour pushing for England caps then.
Oh, I love
Did they? Is the South African lock in there? Captain for a long time.
Oh, Alistair Hargreaves.
Yeah.
I
No,
think that's before his time.
before his time.
Borthwick?
No, the lock
Also might have been
options
a
were
Bath then.
Ian Fullerton, Scotland International, Chris Jack,
Chris Jack.
Jack.
Tom Ryder, Hugh Vivian.
Hugh Vivian. Yeah.
One of 7.
Yeah, one of 7. And we had a good chat with him in New York, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Brent Russell at fullback.
Brent Russell, wow. So he went to Toulon straight after that.
Dan Scarborough, Richard Horton.
Dan Scarborough.
Noah Cato.
Dan Scarborough of Leeds and Broughton Park.
Yeah. Adam Powell, part of the coaching team there now. Andy Farrell, he's done all right.
Mm-hmm.
Gordon Ross and Glenn Jackson.
Gordon Ross.
Hang on.
I think I played against Gordon Ross when he was, I want to say,
Oh, is this a squad?
Scottish.
Yeah.
This is their squad from 2008.
Maybe.
Nice. Fabio Ongaro was the hooker, Italian international.
Don't remember him.
No, I do. Good memories.
Robbie Russell. He was electric for a small period of time.
Very small period of time. He was incredible.
Right, if we're going through the squad for Saracens 2008, we're ready.
Why did we start with this?
So we have got just 1 week of Premiership before it goes away for 7 weeks.
Fantastic. Enjoy it while you can.
And Friday night.
So we'll be watching this in a rooftop bar in Paris.
Yes, we will. Quins v Leicester.
Ooh, interesting.
That's quite a good game to watch.
Leicester need... I think Leicester need wins. I think they
are 6 points behind Exeter.
Are Exeter in fourth?
Exeter in fourth. They're 6 points behind.
They do need wins.
There is only seven
games
rounds left. So yes,
Leicester need to win. Away at Quins.
Away at Quins, it's a tough ask. But
they picked up a few knocks as well this week.
Yeah. Northampton will pump Newcastle.
That was the other news.
Oh my
I knew you got
goodness!
something.
There'll be people listening to the podcast going, "I cannot believe they've not mentioned Dimes."
Finally,
Talking of middle-aged men in excessively tight t-shirts.
Tell you what, he looks great in his t-shirts.
He looks great.
He looks phenomenal.
For a man of his considerable years. Older than...
how many years?
Yeah, who knows?
43? He's doing the Sale Shocks barbecue all of like 4 years ago, whatever it was. Because you remember, it's been a long time. He was in the smaller shorts and a vest, which is a great look. He was lapping it up. Finally, Newcastle have done something of relevance. Look, you can't have a coach like the one that they previously had in Codling. He was quite technical and whatnot. If you want to get out of this hole of irrelevance, you just can't.
Why they signed Codling, the logic, I think, from looking at it was, here's a guy who knows the Championship, knows the lower leagues in France, having worked in both. We have no money whatsoever. He might be able to recruit really shrewdly.
Yeah, and that's not a bad strategy.
The only thing I'd say about this move for Dimes is he's had money in his career like once, and he did a really good job, I felt, of building Sale into something which was becoming very prominent.
He also, was he the one that signed Duan van der Merwe and Rory Sutherland from an almost soon-to-be bankrupt Worcester?
Well, I don't know if he did it, but he did have them available.
He had the money was available before they went bust.
Yeah, so the answer is I don't know. And he wasn't in charge of the budgeting there, where he definitely was at Sale.
He was a named director.
Yeah, so I thought I thought if it wasn't for Steve Diamond, we would not have high-level rugby union in the Northwest. Simple as that.
Oh, that's. I mean, he did a great job, but
they would have been relegated.
That's a ridiculous.
They would have been relegated,
and then
they'd never come back.
Then they'd come back. What are you talking about?
They would never come back.
I think.
Let's not go to hyperbole.
I think that is.
He did a great job.
I think that's the credit to Diamond. I think he had many years operating on a shoestring budget when there was legitimate relegation.
Yes.
Where Bristol and Newcastle and London Welsh and all those teams came up and went down. And Worcester.
Well, they probably would have got down. They would have gone down had London Welsh not had all that legal shizzle that went on that first year they came up.
Yes. Yeah, but
no, second.
For many years, for a long period of time.
I agree.
So that is the perfect thing fit for Newcastle.
Yeah, perfect.
If they'd have gone down, right, they would have lost all their players. They'd have three. There'd be a yo-yo team of the worst type. And I'm not entirely sure that you get the investment from Simon Orange then. And that's what's propelled Sale to the next level, but Diamond kept them in that.
I did love the thing. I did love his thing at Sale though, where it was like, right, we've got a 3-year plan to get ourselves up there, and then after 3 years, not quite there, finished 6th. Right, it's year 0. We're at year 0 now. Now's when we go. He did a great job.
Yeah. So he's not going to have the problem that he had at Sale, certainly his last couple of years, where they did start spending money and he had multiple World Cup winners on his books, and he still failed to make top 4.
Yes.
So that's just not a problem that he's going to face at Newcastle.
No.
So he's perfectly suited.
I think.
I would like to see him in a club with more resources, because I do believe that he is a coach of enough quality, not only to make the playoffs, but to actually win a game there. I really think that. Going to Newcastle, though, I mean, I just don't think it's a backward step in a lot of ways. And I don't think Newcastle are going to change their ways. They're still going to have no money. We know Steve Diamond can do this kind of job. I just think it's a waste of time for a guy with his talents.
I think it is kind of perfect for him, and because he's going to be the main man. He's the
King of the North.
He's the King of the North. And I think when you actually look at the job he did at Worcester and the job he did in the early days, particularly at Sale, that's why he worked, is because he was the main man. And like you say, when it was a really, really well-resourced Sale team with World Cup winners and all the rest of it, they didn't achieve.
Well, it was early years. It took Saracens a long time with a lot of money to achieve what they achieved. And I would say
it took Alex Anderson about 6 months.
Well, yeah, because, in the same way that...
yeah, I know. He's standing on the shoulder of a giant.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, it was there for him. It was there for him. And, Alex Anderson is really, really good at short-term motivation. In fact, all coaches are. You have a change of coach, and if you're the right guy, you can get people motivated. As Steve Diamond said, taking over Worcester, it's amazing what you can do if you get 15 guys that give a shit. And I think he'll make them give a shit. And I think it'll be a big, big difference. Whether they'll win much, I don't know. Because talent is talent at the end of the day. And the other thing as well is the Premiership now. I just find, I don't know if you agree with me, but I think all of these teams are so honed and specialised at what they do. Winning games in the Premiership has never been more difficult, actually, with the competition's parity being so even.
It is much for muchness, although there isn't, in Newcastle's benefit, no team is spending 7 million, no team is spending more than 7 million, as Saracens for several seasons were indeed doing. So that should help. But yeah, it will be just genuinely, I think getting one win before the end of the season would be seen as a success for Diamond.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's probably not going to happen this weekend, you wouldn't think.
No, it will not. Not this weekend.
Bristol play Bath. That's a pretty tasty game.
Bath. Give me Bath.
Yeah, I think I'll have to share
100%
that Bath. Saracens Exeter.
Exeter.
That'll be a good game.
Yeah, interesting. Now, are they going to... No, because they'll be on rest weekend, won't they?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Saracens will have Owen Farrell, but they won't have their other kind of prime players. So, yeah, give me Exeter.
Yeah. And then on Sunday, Gloucester v Sale. Now, I was at Gloucester on Friday. They look really good.
Yeah, they've won 2 on the bounce.
They look really good.
So if there's one thing the Challenge Cup is good for, it might be for a hard reset for a team which down on its luck.
They've won all 4 games, including a win against Claremont. And Castra.
Nice. Nice work.
And okay, here's a question for you. What do Maru Itoje and Jamal Ford-Robinson now have in common?
They both follow me on Instagram.
Something to do with tries?
No, something to do with an award.
Well, Jamal got man of the match this week. Is there anything to do with that?
I gave both Maru Itoje and Jamal Ford-Robinson their very first man of the match.
Oh, what? Maru Itoje came slightly earlier in his career than Jamal.
Slightly earlier.
That is unfair on Jamal. He is a sensational player and always delivers match-winning performance.
Did you have a nice little chat?
Yeah.
How is he?
Yeah, he's good. It was sort of weird. I didn't really want to chat before the game because it's like, you've got to focus on a match. But he came over and hugged and all the rest of it and just, how are you doing? All right. But I was just like, I could have nosed off his ear, but it's like, no, you go and warm up. But he did a great man of the match interview.
He's awesome, isn't he?
He's so good. Because it was his first one. He was like, that's the first one I've ever got. First one I've ever got. And so I asked him a sort of question about the match or the team or whatever. How does it feel when both their props go off the pitch after half an hour because you mullered them? And he just went, I've never done this before, so let's just make this all about me. I was amazing. I'm brilliant. This is my moment. Everyone's watching me. It was just really funny.
So
really funny.
He said what Maru was thinking on his first
match. Yeah. Except Maru on his first one was just like...
This will be one of many.
So effortlessly cool, and it was one of many. Yeah. Right, so that's the games. That's everything taken care of. Right, should we knock it on the head and
let's do it.
Get ready for Paris?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's pack our bags.
So the plan as it stands is to...
What's the dress code, boys?
Well, on the Sunday night, we are guests of Lewis and Nike, apparently.
Are we?
Oh, no, I think we're guests along with someone from Nike.
Okay.
So a good bit of networking there for Beardmore and Beardmore and Beardmore.
Beardmore Co Independent Financial Advisors, pension investments.
Phil Knight has got a few quid to deal with, hasn't he, to manage?
He?
So I think we need to make an effort for the match.
I will be wearing a blazer for the match.
Yeah.
Right, so I need to pack a blazer. Not a problem.
I need to wear my blazer because I don't have much room to pack, particularly as I'm bringing microphones and stuff to do a podcast.
So
Yeah, always wear your blazer. Just wear something on the plane where you can wear a blazer with it. As the company, I love wearing a t-shirt and a blazer, so it's not an issue.
So I unfurled my blue and red blazer for the first time in what must be many, many years earlier today, because one of my suits, reasonably expensive suit, I got out for the first time in a few years, and it had been eaten by moths.
I lost about £4,000 worth of suits to moths.
Yeah, it was. It
Heartbreaking.
was nowhere near that, but it was an expensive enough suit for me to be very upset, and I was worried about. I've got two lovely tweed blazers.
Your blue and red tweed blazer is especially nice,
and they are both okay. But not only that, I thought I'd lost a pair of matte green Ray-Ban Wayfarer glasses that were a birthday present, and I could not find them. Got the blazer out, and they fell out of the pocket.
Result.
Double win.
Result.
Two things.
It's a shame. It is a shame it's winter because you want to stroll around like a debonair Parisian with your Wayfarer shades on, don't you?
So that's a good point. So will you boys be wearing a tie?
No,
Probably not.
I think I might even go. Genuinely, might go white plimp soles with my little get up for the match because I'm in Paris.
It will be. It's Parisian winter. They really
Parisian
wrap up.
winter.
They really do wrap up.
No,
warm.
maybe it's the.
Like I remember being in
maybe not.
Madrid in
you're right.
mid-Feb when it was about 16 degrees.
And they were
everyone
wrapping
is
up warm.
still in
Yeah. No, you're right.
coats.
No, I'm not doing that. I forgot. It's because I was keep thinking I'm back in Marseille again.
I will be in. I'll be in boots.
Yeah.
Either very dark jeans or chinos. Yeah, I'll wear something smart.
Yeah, I think so. If I have to wear a tie, I like to wear one of my many club ties. So either my Talk H tie, my Bayonne Bombers tie, which is a fabulous like social tie. It's a really good tie. Or my favourite, which is the Aylesbury tie, which really stands out because of the pink.
I do have. It goes beautifully with my dark blue and red blazer. I do have a Toulouse tie. And we are watching Toulouse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, nice.
But you're in the home of Racing 92.
I do want to try and buy a Racing 92
No,
tie.
don't you dare. Because you've already got your Toulouse tie. You've already bought...
What, are you picking Racing 92 as your team then?
I mean,
Stuart
look,
Lancaster.
yeah, you could be seduced this weekend.
Sia Khaleesi.
I'm not sure. Look, as a financial advisor, can I get on board with a team that spends that much money on Sia Khaleesi? I don't know if I can. In principle.
Have you ever?
wine
Is there any
cellar.
other club? Does there any other club that feel more like you than one where after the game you can go and have a beer on the pitch?
Sounds great, but it's the same club that employs Stuart Lancaster. I mean, there's so many mixed emotions. I mean, I want to support them, but...
They have their own wine cellar.
They do have... And
Those
they also have
Blazers
Cameron
and the
Wacky,
boats-
who
the
is...
boats-
Yannick Nyanga.
Oh,
Has he not left?
No, I don't know. Isn't he like?
Director of
Is he-
Rugby.
Yeah, or is he upstairs?
Yeah, he's
I think
upstairs.
that-
He's in the business side of things.
He's somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Cameron Wacky, don't get me wrong, and I love their kits, I love their blazers, I love everything about it, but I just can't go over the Stuart Lancaster
You haven't
thing.
been to that stadium, have you? Have you been there, Phil?
I've not.
Oh, my God.
I am very, very excited.
That screen is going to blow your mind.
But between Sia Khaleesi and Stuart Lancaster, I've got some serious cultural problems with the whole operation.
All of which could be overcome when you're stood in the Thunderdome.
If they could replace Stuart Lancaster with, I don't know, Steve Diamond, Sia Khaleesi with Quagga Smith, I would be so into this team. I would be so into it. But instead, they've done what they've done. So we'll have to see. We'll just have to see how it goes.
They got Camille Shat and his neck.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing that. In terms of dress code, what would Maxime Machino do?
I don't know if I know enough women. Bring them all along.
Right. So the plan is to do a podcast from Paris and then to maybe reveal some secrets, spill the beans on our time in Paris on a Patreon podcast. You can support us there, patreon.com/EggChasers. Let the boys end.
Tired of ads barging into your favorite news podcasts? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free news podcasts to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.
Inflation, student debt, recession, mortgage rates. Your employees have a lot on their minds. Offer them financial well-being support from Vanguard well on your way at institutional.vanguard.com. All investing is subject to risk. Advice provided by Vanguard Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor.